The Wandering Soul Planet. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126, Taking the Mountain Village by Strategy. The little frog croaks and cries by the pond. It jumps up and down when it is hungry and wants to eat insects. The little pig is chubby. It sleeps soundly after eating. It has been so lazy since childhood and will lose everything when it grows up. The little squirrel has a big tail and jumps up and down gently. It loves to pick pine cones and fight. Mommy hopes you grow up quickly. The little peacock is so beautiful. It looks so cool when its tail is spread out. All the birds are convinced by you and come to worship you as the bird king. The three cats play together and knead-dough happily. The eldest sister needs small glutinous rice balls, and the second sister needs big duck eggs. The little third sister is the most capable. She needs a mouse for dinner. The little swallows have a special skill. They carry a pair of small scissors. They fly up to the sky to cut clouds and fly down to the river to cut water waves. They cut a tree root as a pillow and cut a piece of mud as a quilt. A toad has a mouth, 2 eyes and 4 legs. It jumps into the water with a splash. 2 frogs with 2 mouths, 4 eyes and 8 legs jumped into the water. In addition to Kuibanliu playing Kuibanliu, Laur Teohu and her other fox friends kept hosting the mountain village king and other leaders, and made them drunk. Taking advantage of this lively atmosphere, they also called almost all the wild dog brothers in the mountain village to eat barbecue. Because there was not enough wine, they did not let the brothers drink, but there were enough barbecues. In addition, they also sent roasted chickens and roasted ducks to the wild dog brothers who were responsible for standing guard, and called it sharing happiness and sharing difficulties. Soon, before midnight, these mountain village leaders and wild dog brothers were full of wine and food, and snored loudly. At this time, Kuibanliu enthusiastically replaced the mountain village brothers who were standing guard, let them go back to sleep, and asked our fox friends to stand guard. Everything went smoothly. At midnight, Kuibanliu and his men quickly lit a big fire outside the gate of the mountain stronghold with the dry branches they had collected, and sent an attack signal to the mountain. Hongsar had already led 250 brothers and sisters to ambush at the foot of the mountain. When they saw the signal from the mountain, they immediately led everyone to rush up the mountain. In addition, the fox archery team at the foot of the mountain also lit torches for Hongsar's troops, like a winding fire dragon, quickly climbing up to the mountain stronghold. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the dog-headed military advisor, the bad idea, was awakened by a pea, and it stood up and walked towards the gate of the mountain stronghold. Kuibanliu found it and quietly followed it. When Suoyizi found out that the men standing guard at the gate of the stronghold were not from his own stronghold, he asked, "Where are they doing?" The subordinates of Teohua, the second in command on guard, replied, "We saw that they were too tired, so we stood guard for them for a while. They are going back to rest now." Suoyizi had a headache because he drank too much and was still dazed. He didn't know if what Teohu and the others did was right or not. So he planned to pee outside the gate and then go back to sleep. When he walked to the gate, he found a big fire burning more than 10 meters outside the gate. So he asked curiously, "Why are you burning a big fire here?" This question made the brothers who were changing guard speechless and didn't know how to answer. Kuibanliu saw this and hurried forward and said, "I had someone light this fire. The weather in early spring is too cold. I saw that the brothers on guard were freezing at night, so I lit a fire to warm them up." The dog-headed military advisor, the bad idea, asked again, "Why did you light the fire so far away from the gate? If you don't burn it closer, how can it still be warm?" Kuibanliu smiled and said, "I'm afraid that you will blame us if the gate is burned. If you are not afraid of burning the gate, I don't care. I can burn it closer." The bad idea said hurriedly, "I was just talking casually, don't take it seriously. Let it be the same as it is." Then, he turned around and started to urinate. Suddenly, he saw a fire dragon winding up from the bottom of the mountain in the distance, so he asked Kuibanliu, "Look at the bottom of the mountain, what's going on?" Kuibanliu knew that the dog-headed military advisor had seen through his tricks, so he winked at the new brother on guard. Immediately, several new brothers rushed forward and beat up the dog-headed military advisor. After a while, before Soraidia could react, he was knocked unconscious. Then, everyone tied Soraidia up tightly. About an hour later, Hong Seer led a large force to meet up with the advance team including Kui Ban Liu, and immediately controlled all the leaders of the mountain stronghold, and imprisoned all the brothers of the original mountain stronghold in several large caves. No mistakes, one post, one content, 1619, one book, one bar. Regarding how to deal with the original mountain stronghold leaders, Hong Seer asked for everyone's opinions. Although everyone expressed different opinions, in the end everyone basically agreed to throw them all down the mountain to avoid future troubles. Although it was a bit cruel, for the sake of a stable rear base, Hong Seer finally agreed to do so. In this way, Wao Tao and Sor Idea went to report to the King of Hell before they woke up. This time, the mountain stronghold King Wo Tao made a fake thing come true, and he turned from a fake victim into the biggest victim of the real thing, the innocent dead ghost. The dog-headed military advisor's bad idea backfired, and he came up with a big, absolutely stinking bad idea, and he lost his life because of it. After solving the biggest trouble of the mountain stronghold, the next thing to do was to recruit those minions. Hong Seer used the simple method of starvation. Anyone who was willing to surrender would have food to eat, those who were unwilling would not have food to eat. When they were starving to death, they would naturally surrender. Obviously, this method of subduing wild dog captives was summed up by Hong Seer from the experience of subduing Zhu Fanfart last time, and this time it was just a copycat. In the end, among the minions in the original mountain stronghold, a total of 260 wild dogs surrendered, and another 33 loyal dogs who would rather die than surrender were thrown off the cliff to follow their old leader. Hong Seer selected the 80 most obedient wild dogs from the 260 newly surrendered wild dogs and incorporated them into her own team for formal collective military training. The rest were assigned to the labor army to engage in large-scale production and construction activities. Chapter 127 Flying Wedding. It seems that the war launched by the U-Monkey Ants has stimulated the Red Ant Empire so much that they have to pay special attention to the trump card of this war. Moreover, the situation around the Red Ant Empire is also unclear, and there may even be dangers everywhere. Although the attack of the U-Monkey Ants has been temporarily repelled, they may still come back. Moreover, the Wolin Empire in the northeast is gradually recovering. Who knows when they will get crazy and attack again. In addition, according to the spies, the Xiongnu ants in the west are also preparing for war, and they have the intention to attack the Red Ant Empire. We have to guard against it. However, the Red Ant Empire has never dealt with Xiongnu ants, and it is not clear how strong they are. Therefore, it is very weak in preventing the Xiongnu ants from attacking on a large scale. The preparations are not in place at all, and it has not attracted enough attention from the Imperial Command. As a result, the Red Ant Army was defeated again and again in the face of the Xiongnu ants' massive attack. If it were not for the Queen Su Sam to send troops to rescue, the country would have been destroyed. This is a later story, and we will not mention it for now. At present, the post-war reconstruction work of the Red Ant Empire Federation is going well. Those federations that were not damaged by the war are also actively supporting the disaster-stricken federations, empire provinces, with money and labor. With the concerted efforts of the whole country, the disaster-stricken federations quickly cheered up and restored vitality. However, the U-Monkey Kingdom was not so lucky. Due to the failure of the war to attack the Red Ant Empire, the shortage of various strategic materials, and the epidemic caused by the death of a large number of wounded soldiers who could not get medical treatment. Therefore, the whole country of U-Monkey was in a panic, and shouting, shirking, and even fighting and infighting spread across the country like a plague, which delayed the post-war recovery work of U-Monkey Kingdom. This formed a strong contrast with the Red Ant Empire, and thus lost the ability to continue to attack other countries for a long time. On a sunny day in spring, the Red Ant Kingdom will hold the annual royal wedding ceremony Flying Wedding. Princesses and princes in Luo hold aerial wedding activities, according to traditional practice. At first, Princess Ling Xiao firmly opposed to participating, thinking that it was very indecent and would damage the face of the royal family. However, the queen repeatedly and patiently did her ideological work and explained the reasons for doing so. First, because on the day of the mating flight, many natural enemies of ants will come to make trouble and destroy, which is really dangerous and thrilling. It will maximize the courage and fighting spirit of the ants and help cultivate the tenacious fighting spirit and vitality of the next generation. Second, for the principle of fairness, no one can be special. Otherwise, who will obey you when you ascend to the throne in the future? Princess Link Xiao thought for a long time and finally had to compromise. Hey, who told me to be reborn as an ant? How can I care about my dignity and face? I am not a human now. Forget it, forget it. Just go with the flow. This day finally came. Near noon, everything unfolded at the highest point of the capital city of the Red Ant Empire. The fifth major wedding ceremony of the royal family of the Red Ant Empire, the aerial flying wedding, officially began. At the first light of dawn, the artillery ants had already deployed a protective crown circle in the cave surrounding the dome. Their buttholes were facing the sky, forming a line of ground-to-air defense, the purpose of which was to repel the flocks of birds that were about to arrive and prevent these natural enemies from causing trouble and destruction. Some artillery ants clamped their stomachs with thin branches to reduce the rebound force. After the position was fixed, they could fire 2 or 3 formic acid bombs in the same direction without deviating from the target. Princess Link Xiao was in her room, and the sterile ants, the worker ants, were carefully applying protective saliva to her wings. Have you been out to see the wonderful world outside? The worker ants did not answer, but undoubtedly they must have been out. Outside is either trees or grass. What's the point? The queen candidate was about to experience everything, and using antennae to communicate instead of experiencing the outside world in person was really nonsense for the queen. The worker ants carefully dressed her up, stretched her legs to make her soft, let her twist her body, move the joints of her chest and abdomen, and check whether her stomach was full of honeydew. They squeezed her stomach and squeezed out a drop to taste it to verify that the juice was enough to support her flight for several hours. Okay, Princess Link Xiao is ready. The worker ants will dress up and check the next princess. After wearing the necessary gorgeous decorations and all the identification scents, Princess Link Xiao walked out of the inner room. Everyone was right, she was really a beauty. No mistake, 1 song, 1 post, 1 content, 1 6, 1 book, 1 bar, 1 look. Princess Link Xiao spread her wings with difficulty. Recently, her wings have grown so fast, so long and so heavy, she had to let the wings hang limply on the ground, like a bride's wedding dress. The other female ants gathered at the exit of the passage. More than 100 girls filed into the dome branches. Some female ants hung on branches excitedly, and their 4 thin wings were scratched, pierced, or even torn apart. These poor girls could no longer move forward. They could not fly anymore, so they had to return to the lower tunnel in frustration. From then on, they could only clumsily go to the secret room to reproduce their offspring like the dwarf ant princess, and never know what the flight of love is. Princess Link Xiao was unscathed. She cleverly jumped over every branch to prevent herself from falling, and was careful not to scratch her delicate wings. A sister walking beside her begged to communicate with her through antennae to talk. What do male ants look like? Similar to drones or flies. It was exactly noon at this moment. The late male and female ants were all crowded on the central trunk road leading to the outer layer of the city-state. The worker ants on the side urged, licked and encouraged them. Princess Link Xiao disappeared in this group of jubilant ants in time, and their identities were mixed with each other. Chapter 128, Crisis. Here, no one could identify her scent. She followed the direction of her sister's march, walking higher and higher, passing through countless unfamiliar areas. Turning the corner of the corridor, she suddenly saw the spring daylight shining in. At first, it was just a halo reflected on the wall, but soon it turned into dazzling light. She finally saw the hot, gentle and brilliant spring sunshine, the promise of a beautiful new world. Due to the direct exposure to the strong photons, she felt dizzy, as if she had drunk a few more cups of pure honey produced in the secret room of the palace. Princess Link Xiao continued to move forward, with white light dots on the ground. She jumped into the warm light circle at a loss. She felt as if she had entered a fairy tale world. Everything was so illusory and incredible. Turning another corner, she found that the white-hot sunlight was sweeping, and the dazzling light circle expanded and gradually turned into a silver-white veil. The direct sunlight made her step back, making her feel that the sunlight penetrated into her eyes, burning her optic nerves, melting her brain, and making her feel like a dream. She walked towards the sunlight. From a distance, she caught a glimpse of the shadows of her sisters cast by the sun, swaying before her eyes like ghosts. Princess Link Xiao continued to move forward, and her shell began to warm up. The sunshine in spring was really wonderful and must be experienced in person. She thought of the ants of the gatekeeper ants class, who would never be able to experience the colorful world and the sun outside in their lives. She walked into the light, Her shadow projected on the other side, far outside the city-state. Her compound eye slowly adapted to the strong light. At this time, the cold wind blowing from outside the cave intertwined with the warm and fragrant airflow in the cave, giving her an indescribable feeling. Her antennae fluttered gently, and she could not control the direction and position of her antennae. A gust of wind blew, bringing the antennae to her cheeks, and her wings also creaked. At the highest point of the dome of the Imperial Palace Castle, several worker ants greeted her, grabbed her feet, lifted her up and pushed her forward into a group of female ants, the queen ants. This small area was crowded with hundreds of noisy and squirming male and female ants. Princess Ling Xiao knew that her current position was the takeoff runway for the mating flight. Now she just had to wait for the wind to ease so that the flight ceremony could begin. However, a gust of wind blew up, and a dozen tits took advantage of the opportunity to swoop down and snatch up several female ants. The tits were attracted by the unexpected prey, the fat female ants, and they flew lower and lower. If they got too close, the artillery ambushed around the dome would immediately fire a salvo of formic acid bombs at them. Just then, a tit came to try its luck. It swooped down on the swarm of prey, grabbed two female ants, and was about to turn around and fly away. Before the unfortunate bird could climb high enough, it was hit. It rolled into the grass, groaning, with the ant still tightly in its mouth, flapping its wings and swooping, thinking that it could sweat away the poison. Hopefully, this lesson will serve as a warning to these birds. In fact, the tits just retreated a little, but they didn't really give up. It won't be long before they come back and test their artillery once again, attacking the anti-aircraft defense line of the ground red ant artillery. The wind slowed down, the gusts decreased significantly, and the temperature rose to 21 degrees Celsius. At this time, the queen of the red ant country decided to release her children. The female ants vibrated their four thin wings and hummed. They were ready, and the smell of mature male ants made them sexually excited. The first batch of female ants spread their wings gracefully and took off. They rose less than 1 meter high, and were eaten by a large group of tits. Almost none of them survived. There was a commotion below, but the red ants would never give up so easily. The second batch took off, and only 5 female ants out of 100 escaped the interception of bird beaks and feathers. The male ants chased the 5 female ants in groups, encountering no resistance at all. Their thin bodies did not attract the interest of the tits at all. The third batch of female ants jumped into the air. But they found that at least dozens of birds were blocking their way. The birds continued to massacre, and no ants survived. Not only that, more and more birds gathered at this time, as if everyone had invited them here by word of mouth. Now there were not only tits above the ants' heads, but also crows, red-throated finches, swallows, swans, chirping and making a mess. No mistake, one song, one post, one content, 1 6, 1 9, one book, one bar. For those birds, this was also a big celebration. The fourth batch took off, repeating the same mistakes, and no female ants escaped. The birds even had an internal fight to snatch the fattest female ants. The artillery ants were filled with righteous indignation. They stood up straight and tried their best to spray the formic acid bombs in their bodies. But these birds flew too high, causing the deadly venom to drop down, causing considerable casualties to the red ants themselves. The female ants were panicked and dared not take off. They all agreed that it was impossible to fly over the flock of birds, and they would rather return to the ground than give birth to offspring indoors with other princesses who were accidentally injured. The fifth batch stood up and prepared to make the final sacrifice. They must find a way to break through the bird's beak wall. 16 succeeded, and 48 male ants followed. The sixth batch, 13 female ants passed. The seventh batch, 34. Princess Ling Xiao flapped her wings, but she didn't dare to move forward. The head of a sister just fell at her feet, and then a feather floated in, an ominous sign. Will she fly with the sisters in the 8th batch and see the world outside? No, not yet. She did it right, and all the female ants in this batch were killed by the flock of birds. Princess Ling Xiao was very scared. She flapped her wings again and raised them higher. At least the wings can still move, no problem, but fear captured her. She must stay calm, the chance of success is not high. Su Sam stopped flapping her wings temporarily. Just now, 72 female ants in the 9th batch passed. The worker ants released an encouraging breath. Hope reappeared. Now she has made up her mind, just go with the 10th batch. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, It means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129 Falling into Yankao. Princess Ling Xiao maintained her height between the palace and the flock of birds for a long time. After a while, the 10th batch of female ants caught up with her and surrounded her. She took the opportunity to speed up and rushed forward into the endless sky. A sister next to her was snatched away, and Princess Ling Xiao narrowly escaped the clutches of the titmouse, all by luck. A total of 14 of the 10th batch were unharmed. But Princess Ling Xiao did not dare to have other delusions. She had just passed the first test, and the huge threat was still behind. She was almost familiar with these statistics. Generally speaking, only 10 or 20 of the thousands of princesses flew out successfully. The most optimistic estimate is that only 7 or 8 queens can survive to establish a city-state. When Princess Ling Xiao waved her 4 wings with colorful paintings, she saw a large group of birds behind her surrounding the sisters of the 11th and 12th batches. Poor. There were only 5 batches of female ants left, and the palace was about to release all its hopes. She no longer thought about it, and the boundless blue sky attracted her. Everything was so blue. For an ant living underground, riding the wind is amazing. Princess Ling Xiao seemed to have entered another world. Leaving the narrow tunnel and heading for the boundless sky, everything was so dreamy and magical. She mastered the flying skills by intuition. When the center of gravity was on the left wing, she turned left. When it was on the right, she turned right. She changed the speed and angle of the wing vibration, sometimes rising, sometimes falling, sometimes accelerating, sometimes slowing down. To make a perfect turn, the tail of the wing must be fixed on an imaginary axis, and at the same time, the body must be at an angle greater than 45 degrees to the axis without hesitation. Princess Ling Xiao found that the sky was not lonely. There were gusts of wind everywhere, some of which lifted her up like an air pump. Air holes, on the contrary, would make her lose altitude suddenly. They could only observe the movements of the insects flying in front of them to detect whether there were air holes lurking. Suddenly, Princess Ling Xiao felt cold. The temperature in the upper air was low, and sometimes there would be hot or cold whirlwinds or storms, turning her like a gyroscope. A group of male ants were chasing after her from behind. Princess Ling Xiao's purpose of speeding up and flying fast was to select suitors who were fast and determined. This was the first stage of the genetic selection. Princess Ling Xiao felt ants clinging to her, and a male ant stuck to her body and climbed up desperately. It was a small male ant, but when she retracted her wings, it felt heavy. She had to lower her altitude. The male ant on her body bent slightly to avoid being hit by the dancing wings. When she was able to keep her balance, she and the male ant began a thrilling flying wedding in the air. She waited curiously, and waves of unimaginable wonderful feelings spread throughout her body. Princess Ling Xiao suddenly had an idea, shook without warning, and dived with all her strength. It was crazy. It was fascinating. Speed and excitement formed a wedding symphony. Landing on the grass, she concentrated and spread her wings again. Now Princess Ling Xiao was flying like an arrow. When she regained her balance, the male ant felt uncomfortable, his feet were shaking. His mouth was open, his heart stopped, and he fell vertically. Most male ants died after the wedding. They only had one chance, and they had to succeed in one go. For other insects like praying mantises, the male mantis would be killed by the female mantis after the wedding, for no other reason than that a passion made the female mantis appetite sore. The second soar stuck to her, and the former just left, and the latter immediately took his place. The third one came, and then one after another, and there were so many that the female ant was too lazy to count. At least 17 or 18 male ants came, giving her enough ammunition to build the ant city-state. Princess Ling Xiao felt these small life forms drilling around in her body. The inventory of the future domain state is enough for millions of people, which can provide her with daily production for up to 15 years without shortage. No mistakes, one post, one content, one book, one bar, one look. The sisters around Princess Ling Xiao shared the same passion as her. The sky was filled with flying female ants, and a collective aerial wedding held by flying ants was in full swing. The male ants pulled up to the clouds, and the female ants were intoxicated by the fatigue and happiness that hit them at the same time. They had been upgraded from princesses to queens. The climax of the wedding night almost made them faint and lose their direction. At this moment, 5 heroic swallows jumped down from the cherry blossom tree. The swallows did not spread their wings and fly high, but just glided lightly into the sky. The cold and harsh reality came. They came towards the group of female ants with spread wings, opened their beaks, and swallowed them one by one. It seemed that Queen Lingxiao was doomed. She tried to speed up and dive to avoid the swallow's attack, but the swallows were more than 10 times faster than her. The big mouth touched the edge of her antennae, holding her abdomen, chest, and head, covering her completely. It was really disgusting when the body touched the inner jaws of the bird's beak. The bird's beak closed, and everything was over. The throat was pitch dark, smelly and slippery. Covered in mucus, the Queen Lingxiao slid into the throat of the predator. Because swallows have no teeth and do not chew, Susan is still unharmed. There is no compromise. If she dies, the whole city will disappear. Let's give it a try. The Queen Lingxiao opened her mouth and bit into the smooth flesh of the esophagus. A conditioned reflex of the swallow saved her life. She felt nauseous and sneezed, spraying the irritating food far away. Chapter 130, Dangers Lurking Around. The queen ant took the opportunity to run wildly. Her wings were so greasy and heavy that she couldn't lift them at all. Finally, she fell into the stream. There were several male ants beside her who were struggling to survive. She could hear irregular heartbeats above her head and found that there were more than 20 female ants alive. They also escaped from the swallows like the queen ant, and fell down exhausted. One female ant fell on a lotus leaf, and 2 salamanders, who were staring at her, grabbed her and chopped her into pieces. The other queen ants were killed by pigeons, toads, groundhogs, snakes, bats, hedgehogs, hens and chickens. In the end, only 7 of the thousands of female ants took off. The queen ant was one of them. This was God's will. She had to survive. She had to create her own city-state and explore the secrets of the ant world. She knew that she had to have support, and she could rely on the friendly partners in her belly. As long as she gave birth to them, everything would be easy. But first, she had to leave here. Following the angle of the sunlight, she located the spot where she fell, a stream in the southwest, a notorious place. Although there are traces of ants on islands all over the world, no one knows how they got there, not to mention that ants can't swim. A leaf floated by her side, and the queen ant climbed up and frantically paddled with her hind legs, but this method of propulsion didn't work at all. Just like that, she drifted with the current for a long time until a huge black shadow appeared. Tadpole? No, it was 1,000 times bigger than a tadpole. The queen ant caught a glimpse of a streamlined object with smooth and spotted skin. This was the first time she had seen such a creature since she was reborn as an ant. Carp. The little beetles, sword water fleas, etc. were all scared and fled in panic. The monster dived back to the bottom of the water and surfaced again, swimming in the direction of the queen ant. The queen ant tightly grasped any leaf, terrified. The carp rushed out of the water with all its strength and jumped into the air. A huge wave of water submerged the ants. The carp circled in the air, opened its mouth wide, showing a row of fine teeth, and caught the small flying insects flying near the leaves. Then the fish flicked its tail and returned to its crystal-clear water world, and once again set off a wave of water to hit the ants. The frog immediately jumped into the water with confidence, coveting the queen ant and the eggs in her belly. The poor queen ant finally floated to the surface of the water, but was carried to the bottom of the water by waves with malicious intentions. The frog chased after her. The cold made her body stiff, and she gradually lost consciousness. When the newly promoted queen ant regained consciousness, she realized that she was lying on a large pebble beach. It must be the turbulent current that saved her from the frogs. She wanted to fly, but her wings were wet. She had to wait a little longer. The queen ant methodically cleaned her antennae and sniffed the air nearby. Where is she? I hope she is not on the other side of the stream. She vibrated her antennae hundreds of times per second, smelling a familiar scent. So lucky. She was on the west bank of the stream. But she couldn't find any path to the scent of red ants. She had to get closer to the central city-state so that her city could communicate with the Federation in the future. With her wings dry, the Sky Queen was finally able to spread her wings and fly high. Her course was set to the east, but she couldn't go far now. Her wing muscles were sore, so she had to fly low along the mound. Unexpectedly, on the path that the Sky Queen had to pass in front of her, a spider was perched on the top of a fern leaf, looking down, from a very high position. The spider spit out a drop of silk liquid, which stuck to the leaf, walked to the tip of the leaf and jumped into the air. It took a long time to fall. The silk thread stretched all the way until the spider was about to land, dried and hardened, and pulled it. It almost fell to the ground like an overripe berry and broke. Many of my compatriots fell heavily to the ground and broke their skin because of the sudden cold, which prolonged the time for the silk thread to harden. The spider danced with its 8 legs to gradually balance its body, then stretched its legs and finally climbed onto a leaf, which was the second fixed point of the spider web. It fixed one end of the silk thread on the tip of the leaf. A straight silk thread would not be of much use. It rushed to a tree trunk on the left. It only needed to jump a few more times and find a few more branches to complete the task. It had already set up the solid beams of the silk web, which had to withstand the strong wind and the struggle of the prey. The whole web was octagonal in structure. Spider silk is a fiber protein called fibrin, which has super toughness and impermeability. After a full meal, some spiders can spit out a 2-micron diameter silk thread up to 700 meters long, and its toughness is comparable to nylon and 3-layer rubber. The most amazing thing is that spiders have 7 kinds of secretory glands, and the silk threads they produce have different functions. 1. There are silk threads specifically for secreting the crossbars. 2. There are silk threads for warning. 3. There are silk threads specifically for the center of the web. 4. There are silk threads with mucus specifically for dealing with fast-flying prey. 5. There are silk threads specifically for protecting the spider's eggs. 6. There are silk threads for building a shield for the spider itself. 7. There are silk threads specifically for entanglement with prey. In fact, silk threads are highly fibrous substances derived from the hormones in the spider's body, just like a unique volatile substance released by the hormones in ants. Therefore, the spider will make its own warning silk threads and lie on them. If there is any disturbance, it will let itself fall along the thread and effortlessly avoid a disaster. In this way, many times, this silk thread has saved its life. Then 4 threads are interlaced in the center of the octagon. For millions of years, it has been the same process. The spider's web gradually takes shape. Today, the spider decides to make a dry web. Although a web with mucus may be more effective, it is too fragile and will get stuck with dust and dead branches. Chapter 131, Walking into a Trap. A dry web may not be as good at catching things, but at least it can hold out until the night. After the spider builds the ridge beam, it adds a dozen silk threads in each quadrant, and finally embellishes the central spiral. This is the most enjoyable part. It starts from a branch that fixes the dry silk threads, jumps between each quadrant and moves towards the center, the slower the better, always following the direction of the Earth's rotation. This spider is female and seems to have no name yet. Let's just call her Guardian. Because she never goes out to hunt, she always stays at home rigidly and patiently waiting for prey to come to the door. Guardian has her own unique way of weaving webs. There are no 2 spider webs in the world that are the same, just like human fingerprints. She also has to tighten the gaps in her carefully woven spider web. When she completes the central web, she looks around her silk torture platform and visually tests its strength. Then she inspects each quadrant and shakes the web with her 8 legs to see if it can withstand the test. The spider web was woven by her into a large and dense one, like lace. It was obvious that the housekeeper had put a lot of effort into the web, because it looked quite conspicuous and strong. However, since she used dry silk as the building material, she should not be too picky about the amount, otherwise the insects on the web would just be resting passers-by. This breathless work exhausted the housekeeper so much that she had to urgently replenish her food. It was a vicious cycle. She was hungry because of weaving the web, but she had to rely on the power of this web to have food. With her 24 claws flat on the main beam, hiding under a leaf, she waited. She didn't need to rely on her eyes at all, just sniffing the sky or using her feet to feel the slightest ripples in the air around her to know if her prey had come. All of this was thanks to the spider web. The silk threads could reflect any thin vibrations. This tiny vibration is a bee, flying in a figure 8 about half a meter away, guiding its hive companions to the flower house full of flowers. This light jump is most likely a dragonfly. Dragonflies are really delicious, but it's a pity that this one is not flying this way. Hey! What a pity, lunch flew away. The spider web shook violently, indicating another intruder. It turned out to be another spider who wanted to enjoy the fruits of his labor. Thief. I have to drive this uninvited guest away before the prey arrives. Suddenly, the housekeeper felt a fly-like creature flying from the east on her left hind foot. It seemed to be flying very slowly. If it continued to fly in this direction, it would have a crash directly into the trap set by the mother spider housekeeper. Crack! It happened to hit directly. It turned out to be a female ant with wings. The housekeeper remembered that when she was young, she was full of blood and scared away many prey that were about to be caught. She thought that insects stuck in the spider web would never be able to fly again. However, the chance of success is only half. Time is the key factor. Be patient, the captured prey will lose its composure and panic. The supreme theory of the spider world is, the most brilliant battle strategy is to patiently wait for the opponent to destroy itself. After a few minutes, the housekeeper took a closer look at her captive. It was a queen ant. The red ant queen of the Eastern Empire, the Red Ant Kingdom. The housekeeper had heard about these super complex empires. It is said that the billions of residents in them are interdependent and will never forage for food and survive alone. What is the benefit? Where is the progress? Now she has the power of life and death over the entire city-state in her hands. Inevitably, this will be the invader in the future. She doesn't like ants. She has witnessed her mother being hunted by a group of vicious red ants. The housekeeper glared at her prey, which was struggling constantly. No mistake, one song, one post, one content, 1 6, 1 9, one book, one forum, one look. Stupid insects, will they never learn that fear is their greatest enemy? The more the winged ants tried to escape, the more the threads got tangled up, but the spider began to worry about damaging the web. On the part of the ant queen, the flapping of wings gave way to anger, but she could hardly move. Because her body was tangled in fine threads, every movement only made the entanglement thicker. She couldn't believe that after going through so many tests, she would be so stupid to give up her life. She was born in a white cocoon and will die in a white cocoon. The housekeeper approached, examining the damaged parts of the web along the way. The ant queen now had a chance to see the black and orange insect up close, with 8 green eyes surrounding its head. She had eaten this spider before. What goes around comes around, and now she is someone else's lunch. The other party is spinning silk at her. As for the housekeeper, she thought that it didn't matter how tight the ties were. Then 2 terrifying poisonous hooks appeared. In fact, spider webs can't kill people, and even if they can, they are very slow. When a spider web catches a piece of meat struggling to escape, the spider will not bite it to death immediately, but will use a poison similar to a sedative to make the prey faint, and then shake it awake when it is time to chew a few bites. In this way, the prey is kept fresh by the layers of silk threads, and she can enjoy fresh meat at any time. Sometimes, a meal can last for a week. The queen of the sky ant heard about this way of eating, and she shuddered. It was worse than death. The body and limbs were slowly eaten one by one. She was woken up and watched a part of herself being torn off and then fell asleep. A part of the torso was lost each time until the last moment, when the important organs were torn apart and she could finally rest in peace. She would rather commit suicide. In order to avoid the miserable scene of death by the poison hook, the queen of the sky ant began to slow down her heart rate. At this moment, a mayfly fell into the spider web, and the strong force caused the silk thread to rebound, and then tied its whole body tightly. Chapter 132, Escape from Death. This mayfly was born just a few minutes ago, and will soon age and die within a few hours. Life is short and fleeting. It must move quickly, not wasting a single second. If you were born in the morning and died in the evening, how would you enrich your life? After a long 2-year larval period, the mayfly immediately sets out to find a female partner to reproduce, seeking immortality through offspring. In a lifespan of only 1 day, the mayfly is completely focused on finding a partner. It does not eat, rest, or want to cause trouble. Its biggest natural enemy is time, and every second is its opponent. Compared to time, the spider is just an obstacle that wastes time, not a real opponent. The mayfly feels that it is rapidly aging inside. In a few hours, it will be completely aged and finished, and its life in the world is in vain. This is simply an unbearable failure. The mayfly struggles hard, but the problem is that the faster it moves, the tighter the spider web will entangle it, but if it does not struggle, it will not be able to escape the entanglement. The housekeeper ran over and wrapped a few more threads around the mayfly. Now she had 2 tasty prey, enough protein to spin another web. As the housekeeper was about to put her prey to sleep again, she felt a different kind of vibration. Some clever vibration. Ta. 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 It's a male spider. Wow. A young man is coming. The young man walked along a silk thread, tapping it lightly to signal, I am yours, not here to take your prey. The housekeeper had never felt such sexy vibrations. Ta. 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 Ah. She couldn't stand it, and she ran towards her lover, a young man who was about 4 months old, while she was already a middle-aged woman who had molted 12 times. The housekeeper was 3 times larger than the young man, and it happened that the young man liked fat women. The young man pointed at the two prey and indicated that he could replenish his energy later. It climbed onto the belly of the housekeeper, took out its little gadget, and began the passionate making movement. The young man and the housekeeper were so excited that they forgot everything and time seemed to have stopped. Unknowingly, 2 or 3 hours had passed. The young man kept repeating those very old-fashioned actions countless times, and was extremely excited. At this time, it was completely immersed in the so-called happiness and couldn't extricate itself. It didn't even think that death was about to fall on its head. The female spider housekeeper almost fainted with joy. Suddenly, she was so excited that she couldn't help but grab the young man's head and bite it to pieces. At this point, it would be stupid not to finish eating the young man. Okay, eat it. But she was still a little hungry. She jumped to the mayfly again, shortening its already short life. Now she turned to the ant. The queen ant knew that the moment of being pierced by the poison hook was approaching again, and she kicked around in panic. Suddenly, God bless. The queen ant finally had a change of luck. Things took a turn for the better as new prey buzzed into the bottom of the web. Another insect that had recently come north from the south, and a rather plump one at that. A scarab beetle. The beetle rammed hard into the center of the web, pulling the spider silk tightly like glue, and breaking it. Although spider webs of this structure look relatively strong, they can't withstand much tossing. The beautiful silk oily was torn into pieces, and the silk fragments flew. The female spider had already grabbed the warning silk thread and escaped. This time it was the scarab beetle that saved the life of the queen ant. She broke free of the white shackles and stumbled cautiously on the ground, but she was unable to take off. No mistake, 1 post, 1 content, 1/6, 1 book, 1 bar, 1/6, 1/9, 1 book, 1 bar, 1/6. The Sky Ant Queen finally found an ideal place to build a city-state, a round hill. She climbed to the top of the hill and could see the easternmost city-states, Chuanbi City and Mugwa City. Under normal circumstances, it should not be a big problem to connect this place with other cities in the Federation. She looked around and found that the soil was gray and a bit hard. The new queen wanted to find a place with softer soil, but she couldn't dig anywhere. She thought of drilling a hole with her mouth to build her first bedroom. Strange shaking, similar to the ground, but the shaking area was not large, about the size of a creature. She pecked at the ground again. It moved again, and even more violently. The whole hill stood up and slid to the left. The ants had a wide range of knowledge and had seen many bizarre phenomena, but a moving hill was unheard of. The hill moved forward at a fairly fast speed, splitting the tall grass and trampling the bushes. The Sky Ant Queen had not yet fully recovered from her shock when the second hill approached. What kind of magic is this? Before she could get down the hill, she seemed to be involved in a wild horse taming show. In fact, it was a pair of courtship hills. The lovers were now shamelessly touching each other. What was worse was that the one the Lynxio Ant Queen was riding was a female. The other male was slowly climbing up, his stone-like head slowly appeared, and he opened his mouth and made a gurgling sound. Wow! It was too much. The young queen ant had to give up building a city-state in this area. She rolled down the hill and found that she had just escaped death. The hill was not only big in size, but also had 4 clawed feet and a small triangular tail. It turned out to be a turtle. It was also the first time Susan saw a turtle after she became Lynxio Princess and the Ant Queen. Chapter 133 Establishing a City-State. The queen's stomach was boiling violently, pulling, pushing, and kicking inside. The people of the future city-state were eager to be born. She stopped being picky and chose a small hole with red and black mud. She decided to build her city-state here. The location was not bad. There were no monkey ants, termites, or wisps nearby. However, she seemed to smell a little trace of red ant trails, indicating that red ants had been here before. She tasted the soil. It was full of organic elements, moist but not too wet, and there was a small clump of bushes on it. The queen started to clear a circular area with a diameter of about 1 meter, indicating that this was the best size for a city. Exhausted, she tried to regurgitate some food from her stomach, but the sack was empty long ago. She had used up all her stored energy, so she pulled off her wings without hesitation and devoured the meaty part of the root. The energy gained from this could last for a few more days. Then, the queen hid her antennae deep. During this period, she was powerless and must not let any creature find her. She waited, and the city hidden in her body slowly woke up. What name should she give the city? First of all, she had to find a queen name for herself. In the world of ants, having a name is equivalent to having an automatic and spontaneous group. Worker ants, soldier ants, and male and female ants before mating can only call each other by the sequence number when they were born. Once the female ant is pregnant, on the contrary, she has the right to take a name. Well, she finally broke through many obstacles and successfully settled down here. Then she will be called Queen Susan according to her original name. Her home, which is the future city-state, will be called Susan City. Queen Susan was very hungry. It was not just a single individual, but the entire city of ants that were asking for their own share of food. How to feed the entire group hidden deep in her body. Finally, she decided to walk out of the cave where she laid eggs. She dragged her body laboriously and crawled about 1/3 of a meter, only to bring back 3 needles, which she greedily licked and chewed. This was far from enough. It would be best if she could find some prey, but she was too weak to do so, and there were thousands of predators nearby. Surrounded by powerful enemies, she was in danger of being hunted. Therefore, she squatted in the cave and quietly waited for death to come. Instead, an egg was released, her first citizen of Susan City. She almost didn't feel it coming. She moved her numb feet and squeezed her intestines with all her strength. It must succeed, otherwise it would be over. An ant egg rolled out, small, dark gray almost close to black. If Queen Susan allowed this egg to hatch, the young ants born would not live long, and even. She didn't know if she could provide enough nutrients until hatching. So she opened her mouth and ate her first child. It is said that Queen Susan was laying eggs and hatching them at this time, working hard to build her own city-state. Susan immediately gained an extra heat. There was 1 less egg in her abdomen, but 1 more in her stomach. The sacrifice of the first egg brought the birth of the second one. Now she felt strong enough to lay a second egg, a small, gray egg, exactly like the first. Queen Susan tasted it carefully and felt better. The third egg was not much better in color, but she swallowed it again. It was not until the 10th egg that Queen Susan changed her strategy. The eggs she laid turned normal gray and were about the size of her eyeballs. No mistake, 1 poem, 1 post, 1 content, 1 6, 1 book, 1 bar, 1 look. Susan laid 3 such eggs, ate 1 and kept 2, and kept them under her body to keep warm. She continued to incubate, and the 2 older eggs transformed into long maggots, but with a lingering bitter face on their heads. They began to moan and cry for food. The calculation became more complicated. In this way, in a closed cycle, from nothing to something, when one of the maggots is larger, the smaller one becomes food for the other. This is the only way to get the protein necessary for growth and let it grow into an ant. But the remaining young maggot was still crying out for hunger. It curled up and cried. The feast of its sisters could not satisfy it. Finally, Queen Susan ate the first child that was about to grow up. I must succeed, I must succeed, Susan told herself repeatedly. When she thought of her suffering, she excreted 5 brighter eggs at once. She devoured 2 of them and let the remaining 3 continue to grow. In this way, killing children to feed them, life continued. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, the cruel life training finally created the first complete adult ant. The ant looked thin and seemed a little mentally retarded due to malnutrition. In any case, she finally succeeded in raising her first citizen of Susan City. For the survival of the domain state, the bloody process of killing its own kind was finally halfway through. From now on, this congenitally defective worker ant can bring back some food from nearby, insect corpses, grains, leaves, mushrooms. It did it. Susan was finally able to get a normal and adequate diet. The eggs she laid were bright in color and much stronger, and the eggshells were thick enough to withstand the cold. The size of the young maggots also returned to normal standards. The new generation of newborns was tall and strong. They would be the basic backbone of the Susan City state. As for the first mentally retarded ant, It completed its task of providing food to the breeder, Susan, and died soon after. Its body was shared by its brothers and sisters. From then on, all the killing and suffering before the establishment of the city-state was forgotten. The Susan city-state was born. The city-state slowly grew and thrived, and the ants in the city-state first built an imperial city. Chapter 134, Traveling. Now let's go back to the Shizo sparrow. It was said that when night fell that day, Shizo arranged a few young sparrows to take turns on duty at night, and the rest of them roosted on the branches of a dozen nearby trees for the night. There was no conversation at night. The next day, everyone had a great time all day. In the evening, Shizo, the leader who is not troublesome in the eyes of the birds, gathered everyone together and said that he would take everyone to the primeval forest thousands of miles away to play in the early morning of the next day, so everyone went to bed early. After 5 or 6 days of hard flying, everyone finally found that there was a primeval forest in front of them that stretched for hundreds of miles and was 2,000 or 3,000 meters above sea level and was shrouded in clouds and mist. In the forest, the branches and leaves almost completely blocked the sky, and the vines clinging to the big trees grew in clusters, and some ferns covered the damp and dim places. Each big tree tried hard to grow in all directions, and the tall and dense branches and leaves intertwined left and right, greedily catching every bit of sunlight, causing the sun to hang high in the sky, but under the cover of the leaves and branches, the forest was as dim as the evening. Ancient trees, with withered vines hanging on them, sway in the dim light, like ghosts. There are golden monkeys, split-fronted monkeys, mandrills, wildcats and raccoons on the trees, while poisonous insects and beasts such as scorpions, poisonous snakes, poisonous mosquitoes, marching ants, snow wolves, wild boars, snow leopards and tigers live on the ground. The ground is fertile black soil, but unfortunately there is a lack of sunlight, otherwise, the ground must be covered with all kinds of plants. Outside the forest, there is a misty and unpredictable, turbulent and vast sea of clouds, while the mountains near and far are like isolated islands in the sea, with only green peaks vaguely visible. The sea of clouds changes rapidly, sometimes clustered like mountains, sometimes flowing like rivers, sometimes flat like cotton, and sometimes divided like caves. There are endless peaks and mountains, some of which are high into the clouds, and some of which are steep and deep. Looking up, clouds cover the sky, hawks fly under the clouds, and there is peace and tranquility under the vast sky. Looking down at Kyangshan-Lu Valley, fog locks the river and shrouds the gloomy bushes. No one knows what amazing secrets are hidden in this mysterious forest. At about 10 o'clock in the morning, with curiosity and excitement, Zissou led a large group of sparrows to this primeval forest. What they saw made these sparrows, who had never been here before, so excited that they chirped and talked endlessly. The sudden discussion of the sparrows woke up a raccoon who was sleeping in the tree. It angrily scolded, "Where did this stupid bird come from? It doesn't know the rules and ruined my good dream. Any ordinary birds like to chirp non-stop in broad daylight, and never care about night owls like us who like to work night shifts," an old wildcat also echoed. At this time, a black-haired split-fronted monkey from a nearby tree grabbed the branch and swung over, saying, "I'll help you drive them away." After saying that, he swung to the big tree where the sparrows were perched, and the sparrows were scared and all flew away. Some sparrows flew to other trees, and some sparrows flew to the ground to look for food. However, unexpectedly, there were many traps on the ground. Many bushes, thorns and small trees were covered with tough and strong spider webs. If you are not careful, a sparrow will fall into the spider web and be unable to move. Soon, the poisonous spider, the black widow, who was waiting for it, injected poison, anesthetized it and was slowly eaten. However, there are also some lucky ones who were rescued by their companions. One sparrow was responsible for pecking at the back of the poisonous spider black widow, who was trying to inject poison with his beak to prevent it from approaching, and the other sparrow was responsible for jumping to the edge of the spider web and using his mouth and feet to help the sparrows who fell into the spider web escape. In addition to poisonous spiders, there are also poisonous snakes that attack sparrows that fall to the ground. If you are not careful, you will be swallowed by poisonous snakes hiding in the bushes and tree holes. In addition, poisonous scorpions are encountered from time to time on the ground. Once stung by it, you will die. 1 or 2 sparrows were stung by poisonous scorpions and died. The sparrows that were stung to death by poisonous scorpions were soon eaten up by a large group of marching ants nearby, leaving only a pile of bones. Sometimes, snow wolves will occasionally join in the fun, suddenly rushing up and taking a bite. Although its success rate is not high, it also scares the sparrows. This time, 13 or 14 of the 30 or 40 sparrows that landed died. This is really the forest of death. Once you land, your life is in danger. After Zissou knew about it, he hurriedly led everyone to leave here and fly to another cloud forest with higher terrain. There are relatively fewer animals here, so it is relatively safer. There is no mistake in the poem. The content is in the 6-9 book bar. However, there are some young snow leopards on the branches here. They are indifferent to the arrival of the sparrows, which just suits the appetite of the sparrows and makes everyone feel at ease. A few sparrows responsible for reconnaissance quietly went down to the ground to see if there is any danger. They found that there are few poisonous spiders and scorpions here. So, everyone swarmed down from the tree to find insects to eat. Soon, everyone found a lot of adult beetles, ladybugs, crickets, dragonflies, mosquitoes, butterflies, earthworms and other larvae here, and had a good meal. Then, they flew back to the tree and started chirping and chatting. This morning, Zissou was chatting with everyone in the tree. Suddenly, a magpie flew over and said, "Hey. Good morning. Friends, you are new here. Welcome. This is the primeval forest. Do you know where the most mysterious and interesting place is?" Zissou said, "We just got here, so of course we don't know." "I hope you can give me some advice, brother," the magpie said. 800 miles southwest of here, there is a blue forest with an altitude of 2,500 meters. There are hundreds of bird species living there. Not only is the air exceptionally fresh, but breathing the air there will make you feel refreshed, energetic and motivated. There are all kinds of insects, birds and animals there. Do you want to go? Chapter 135 Blue Forest. The second oldest, Quexing, said, "Really? If there is such a good thing, of course we have to go and see it. Don't you think so?" "No need to trouble the eldest brother," Zissou said, "of course we have to go. However, the journey is a bit far. I'm afraid it will take 2 or 3 days to get there." 3 days later, the Zissou sparrow family finally arrived at the Blue Forest, a mysterious forest with light smoke and mist, green mountains and clouds, and a dreamlike and mysterious forest. There are tall and straight trees with lush branches and leaves, steep stone walls, and many unknown birds and beasts. When they entered the forest, they soon felt the fresh and pleasant air. What is even more surprising is that everything here looks so harmonious, peaceful, comfortable and beautiful. This is a world of joy, a sea of happiness, and a paradise for birds. Larks, thrushes, nightingales, lyres are having a passionate singing contest, and their beautiful songs are echoing in the forest. There are more birds singing duets, a way of birds' courtship that makes people amazed and imaginative. Sparrows, swallows, magpies, doves, crows and other birds are having a dancing contest, performing all kinds of difficult movements on branches, on grass, on cliffs, and even in the air, which are dazzling and overwhelming, but also make people feel that they are magnificent and rare in the world. Eagles, golden eagles, sparrowhawks, vultures, shrikes and other birds of prey are practicing their hunting skills, and there are competitions between their own kind and between different kinds of birds. Some birds that like to fly are having a flying competition, and several birds of similar size are competing to see who can fly faster or farther. There are also some birds doing acrobatic training, and a group of birds are receiving acrobatic training and guidance from a monkey. In addition, an owl who likes to preach and tell stories is squatting on the branch of a big tree and telling beautiful stories to the surrounding birds. At this moment, Zissou is like Grandma Liu entering the Grand View Garden in the past. He feels curious about everything and looks here and there. Suddenly, a lark flies out of the woods and shouts everywhere, "Everyone listen. The annual bird fighting overlord open ring competition will start tomorrow in Yunwu Mountain Forest. Players who want to participate in the competition should sign up quickly. Friends who like to watch the excitement can also go there to join in the fun. It's too late. If you miss this village, there will be no more shops." After hearing this exciting news, many unknown birds of all sizes flew to Yunwu Mountain Forest to sign up or watch the excitement. Seeing this, Zissou also led everyone to follow those birds. When they got there, they saw birds everywhere, flying in the sky, perching on the trees, and jumping on the ground. It was so dense that it was simply a mountain of birds and sea of birds. The registration area was particularly crowded. The guide, the thrush, explained, "First, according to the size of the birds, they are divided into 3 categories, large, medium and small. For example, Eagles, owls, golden eagles, snake eagles, wild geese, swans, red-crowned cranes, peacocks, and vultures are large birds and can participate in the first category. Sparrowhawks, crows, magpies and shrikes are medium birds and can participate in the second category. Sparrows, swallows, turtle doves, cuckoos, larks, nightingales, parrots, lovebirds, orioles, white-eyes, acers, thrushes and mynas are small birds and can participate in the third category. Obviously, Shizo can only participate in the third category. Then, each type of bird will have an elimination competition to select the first winner to enter the next round. Then, a mixed elimination competition will be held for various birds, and the winner will enter the final. The final champion will become the bird king of the Blue Forest this year and will have supreme honor and power. As for what rights they were, the Thrush Guide did not elaborate. Of course, the champion of a large bird has the highest honor and will have the title of the king of the Blue Forest. Zisu and a dozen young, strong and confident male sparrows signed up for the sparrow group without hesitation. They also wanted to test their own fighting power and see how strong they were. There were hundreds of sparrows registered for the sparrow group alone, which put a lot of pressure on Zisu. So Zisu decided to take his group of sparrow contestants to a secluded place to practice immediately. Whether it was cramming or sharpening the gun before the battle, it was too late to care about so much now. Soon, Zisu led 15 participating sparrows to a secluded place to fight one-on-one. At the beginning, Zisu's opponent was his subordinate, so he did not let go and did not dare to attack boldly. In a few seconds, he was knocked to the ground by Zisu's wings. No mistakes, 1 song, 1 post, 1 content, 1 6, 1 9, 1 book, 1 bar. Take a look. Zisu was very depressed and kept cheering the opponent up, telling it to put down its burden and attack boldly. Despite this, the opponent was still weak. After only 3 or 5 blows, he was slapped to the ground by Zisu again. Zisu had no choice but to wait for the winners of other practice groups to come down and practice with him. Not long after, the practice of the other groups was over. In this way, Zisu and the other 7 winners were divided into 4 groups for practice. Although this was the semi-finals, Zisu still defeated his opponent easily. The final was a bit strenuous for Zisu, but after a while, he won again. Zisu felt that his victory was not due to luck and strength, but to his slightly stronger skills and confidence. In addition, he had a human brain, was willing to think, and was good at grasping the opponent's weaknesses. However, if the opponent he met was too strong, he would definitely lose. Thinking of this, he felt that he had to practice alone, figure out the moves and essentials of fighting, and study how to deal with big birds and strong people. After a whole day of painstaking research, it developed 5 martial arts moves, including a crane soaring into the sky, an eagle strikes the sky, dancing willows in the wind, kite flipping over, and antelope hanging on the horns. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136, Fighting Competition. Among them, a crane soaring into the sky is to attack or dodge from the bottom up, an eagle strikes the sky is to attack from the top down, the wind dances in the willow is to turn around and attack the enemy, the kite turns over is to avoid the enemy's attack on its side, and the antelope hangs on the horn is to jump to the enemy's side and attack it. After figuring out these 5 simplest fighting moves, it worked hard to practice until dark. At 8 o'clock the next morning, the competition officially began, and the first one was the competition of the Sparrow Group. The competition arena was set up in a clearing in the woods in the forest. The clearing was almost completely circular, surrounded by towering trees, and under the trees were dense bushes. Zisu participated in the competition of the Sparrow Group. It was energetic and brave, and it won all the way. Finally, when the sun was about to set, Zisu finally made it to the finals, and the opponent was a very experienced veteran. Before the competition began, Zisu stared at every part of the opponent, trying to find its weakness. But unfortunately, he didn't find it. It seems that the opponent is very cunning, experienced and calm, and it is not easy to deal with. The final of the Sparrow Group began. Zisu wanted to take the lead and attack the opponent first. The opponent jumped away easily, and suddenly turned his head and pecked at Zisu's head with his mouth. Zissou hurriedly flipped to the side to avoid it, and then flew up and flew to 2 meters above the opponent, and then flew eagle rushed down to the opponent. Seeing that the situation was not good, the opponent also hurriedly flipped to the side. Zissou had expected this kind of trick of the opponent, so he turned around and pounced on the opponent with a wind-dancing willow, holding down the opponent who had not yet gotten up with his 2 claws, and pecked at the opponent's head and eyes with his mouth. Under Zissou's fierce attack, the opponent was pecked and bleeding, and soon admitted defeat and was out. In this way, Zissou won the championship of the Sparrow Group and will represent the Sparrow Group in the knockout round of the semifinals tomorrow. On the second day of the Yunwu Mountain Forest Bird Fighting Overlord Open Arena competition, the competition entered the semifinals and knockout rounds. A total of 64 winners represented their own bird species and were divided into 32 groups to compete. Zissou represented the sparrows and competed with the winners representing the turtle doves. After less than 10 minutes of competition, Zissou finally won with a trick of one crane soaring to the sky. In the quarterfinals, Zissou played against the winner of the Oriole. This was the first tough battle that Zissou encountered. After 20 minutes of fierce fighting, Zissou finally defeated the Oriole and entered the quarterfinals. In the quarterfinals, Zissou played against a female bird Asur. The opponent Asur is a very cunning guy. She always adopts evasive tactics to circle around with Zissou and soak mushrooms as much as possible. She will never take the initiative to attack until the last critical moment. Zissou feels very headache when facing such a difficult opponent and just wants to curse. Finally, there was no other way, so he had to come up with a plan, pretending to be exhausted and falling to the ground. The opponent Asur thought that the last chance had come, and took this good opportunity to peck Zissou's eyes, but Zissou turned sideways and flipped over like a kite to barely avoid it. Then, a crane soared to the sky, rushed from the ground to its back, grabbed its wings with 2 claws, and pecked Asur's head and neck until she begged for mercy and admitted defeat. In the next semi-final, Zissou played against the big myna bird, which might be the third tough battle that Zissou encountered. Because the opponent was strong and hot-tempered and liked to attack, Zissou had to take a defensive position from the beginning to avoid the opponent's attack, which was exactly the opposite of the previous round. When the opponent suddenly attacked, Zissou seized the opportunity, either pulling onions in dry land or flipping over like a kite, always making the opponent feel half a beat slower, which was very helpless. In the end, the big myna bird gradually became exhausted, and the speed of attack became slower and slower. Zissou took the opportunity to counterattack, and attacked with a returning wind and dancing willow, and then defeated the opponent with a one crane soaring to the sky and eagle strike the sky, and entered the final. The opponent in the final was a lark, and it was a female bird. She was very cunning and clever, and very difficult to deal with. She always followed the rhythm of Zissou's attack. When Zissou was fast, she was also fast, and when Zissou was slow, she was also slow. When Zissou attacked quickly, she dodged. When Zissou attacked slowly, she waited for an opportunity to counterattack and caught Zissou off guard. Faced with this situation, Zissou had to switch from offense to defense, let the opponent attack, and dodge himself. He even sold a flaw, pretending to make an attack mistake or something, so that the opponent would take the bait. No mistakes in one song, one post, one content, 1/6, one book, one bar, one look. However, the opponent saw through his plan at a glance and never fell for it, which made Zissou very difficult. Finally, Zissou frowned and decided to use the strategy of hiding the truth. He suddenly pulled the onion from dry land and landed gracefully, making the opponent very nervous. After repeating it several times, he found that the opponent gradually put down his mind and was no longer nervous. At this moment, Zissou suddenly pulled the onion from dry land and pounced on the opponent from top to bottom like a tiger descending from the mountain. Then, at the moment when the opponent tried to dodge, he pounced on the opponent with an antelope hanging horns in the air, pressed the lark to the ground, and pecked hard on its head and neck until the opponent was bleeding and fainted. Finally, Zissou finally won the championship of the third category, small birds, competition as he wished. The champion of the second category, medium birds, competition was the fierce shrike. The champion of the first category, large birds, competition was the owl, who was both brave and insidious. It became the real ruler of the Blue Forest, a bird king. Although Zissou won the final victory, it was still not happy. Because it has a human brain and intelligence, it feels unfair to compete with birds of the same type, same size. If it is asked to fight against birds of prey such as eagles, it has almost no chance of winning. Therefore, it believes that it must practice martial arts hard and strive to challenge the big bird, eagle next year and become the real bird king of the Blue Forest. Chapter 137, Fighting for Strength and Violence. Although Shih Tzu did not get complacent about winning the championship and becoming the third-class bird king of the Blue Forest, he was warmly welcomed and entertained by the small birds wherever he went. Even the middle and large birds who did not win the championship were polite and respectful to him, which further strengthened his ambition to defeat all birds and become the real bird king of the Blue Forest. The three Sparrow sisters naturally worshipped and relied on him more, and followed him almost inseparable. This made the single birds very envious, jealous and hateful of him. Since he became the champion, those sarcastic rumors have never stopped, such as unruly, romantic and lustful, vulgar and shameless, debauched and excessive, etc. Shih Tzu Sparrow ignored it and continued to do his own thing. He took his sparrow tribe to the forest to hunt and play when he had nothing to do, and he would find a secluded place from time to time to practice and create new martial arts moves. After more than a month of hard study and practice, Zissou created more than a dozen new martial arts moves, such as holding the yuan and guarding the one, blackbird scratching the sand, white crane spreading wings, swallow drilling the clouds, as agile as a wandering dragon, as graceful as a startled wild goose, flying across the Yinshan mountains, swallows flipping the clouds, golden peng spreading wings, golden rooster seizing grain, riding the dragon to track the phoenix, pearl rolling upside down curtain, flipping in the clouds and wild goose landing on the flat sand. On this morning, Zissou was practicing again, and the three Sparrow sisters went out with the other birds to find food, and brought back some food for Zissou. Suddenly, a red-billed and black-headed shrike flew in from somewhere, perched on the branch of a nearby tree, and watched Zissou practicing. It laughed at him. "Boy, why are you practicing kung fu so hard? With your tiny body, no matter how well you practice, you're no match for me. If you don't believe me, how about we have a competition?" Zissou, who was practicing kung fu hard, pretended not to see the unreasonable intruder and was too lazy to pay attention to him. He just practiced hard wholeheartedly. Seeing that Zissou ignored it, the red-billed and black-headed shrike angrily yelled, "Boy, are you deaf or dumb? I'm talking to you, how come you didn't hear me? Are you talking to me?" Zissou said while practicing. "I'm sorry. Can't you see I'm very busy now? Sorry, I don't have time." "Tisk, you little thing, you dare to put on airs in front of me," the shrike said. "Do you know who I am?" "I don't care who you are," Zissou said. "I just know I'm too busy now and I won't see you. You really piss me off," the shrike said. "I'm the champion of the second category, medium birds, competition in the Blue Forest. And you're only the champion of the third category, small birds, competition. Do you dare to compete with me? I don't think you have the guts." Seeing this guy calling a left and right in a self-righteous manner, Zissou felt very disgusted and said angrily, "Is it so great to be the champion of the second category, middle bird species, competition? Let's compete. Who's afraid of who?" "Oh, you are so brave," the shrike said in surprise. "You really dare to compete with me? Aren't you afraid that I will eat you, huh?" "What is there to be afraid of?" Zissou said disdainfully. "It's not certain who will eat whom." "Good boy, you have guts," the shrike said in surprise. "Do you dare to compete with me now?" "I don't have time now," Zissou said slowly. 3 days later, that is, the day after tomorrow morning, we will fight here for 300 rounds. How about it?" "Okay, it's a deal," the shrike said. "Whoever doesn't come by then will be a grandson, of course. By then, I will invite many friends to watch and cheer," Zissou said. "I will never let you down." "Very good. Then I'm leaving. See you then." After that, the red-billed black-headed shrike flew away. Shih Tzu only has 3 days left. In such a short time, can it defeat an enemy that is several times larger than itself? It seems that things are a bit uncertain. Now Shih Tzu must study the tactics and tricks to defeat the enemy that is several times larger than itself, the shrike, within 3 days. Shih Tzu thought, "As a sparrow, the shrike is my natural enemy. Will I be afraid of it? It is said that the shrike will hang the captured large insects, lizards, mice and small birds on thorns, just like humans hang meat on meat hooks. It is very cruel, so it is also called the butcher bird. I am weak, so I should first adopt a defensive tactic, let it attack me, consume its physical strength, wait for it to be exhausted, and then wait for an opportunity to counterattack in order to have a hope of winning. Otherwise I will definitely lose. Failure may mean death. After having this idea, Shisu developed several sets of tactics and emergency plans. In short, when defending, you must hide in time and escape quickly, and when attacking, you must be fast and fierce, and you must be unexpected. The day of the competition finally arrived. Since it was a competition between the champion of the second category, medium birds, and the champion of the third category, small birds, it attracted many birds of all sizes to watch the competition. The trees were crowded with all kinds of birds, which was even more lively than the open competition of the bird-fighting champion. A lark was invited to serve as the referee. It flew to the branch of a tree next to the competition area and solemnly announced, "The competition has begun." Shizu first took the defensive move of holding the origin and guarding the onus and waited and watched. The Shrike thought Shizu would attack immediately, so he also took a defensive posture to stop the opponent from moving. The Shrike waited for a long time, but still didn't see Zisu rushing up, so he scolded, "Boy, what's the matter? You have the courage to go on the field, but not the courage to compete." "I like to strike back," Zisu said. "You should go first." "If I go first, wouldn't it be bullying the weak and make people laugh?" The red-billed black-headed Shrike said. "You should go first." "You go first," Zisu said firmly. It thought, "You are kidding? If I go first, then all the strategies and tactics I have formulated in the past few days will be scrapped? I am not that stupid." Chapter 138, Become Famous in One Battle. "Hey! What's wrong with you two?" the lark referee said dissatisfiedly. "This is a martial arts competition, not a dinner party. Why are you two being so polite? Do you still want to compete? So many spectators are watching you two now. You can't make a fool of everyone. What are you thinking, kid?" the Shrike said puzzledly. "If you let me attack first, you will not be in trouble. Don't blame me if you suffer a big loss. Whether you suffer a loss or not is none of your business," Zisu said calmly. "Just come on, good boy, you are so brave," the Shrike said fiercely. "If I don't beat you to pulp, then I am not a Shrike. If you are not a Shrike, then you are just a fly or mosquito." Zisu deliberately angered it and said, "Little mosquito, come up and die." "I'm really pissed off," the red-billed black-headed Shrike said angrily. "You little bastard, I'll tear you to pieces. I'm your pet." Then it took off from the ground, flew to a suitable height, and swooped down on Shisu from top to bottom. Shisu stared at the Shrike's every move with all his eyes. When it was about to rush to his eyes, he immediately used the swallow flipping clouds move to roll 360 degrees to the side, and then used the crane soaring to the sky move to fly away from it, saying as he flew, "I don't want to raise mosquitoes. Stinky mosquitoes bite people to death." When the Shrike turned around and pounced on Shisu from bottom to top, he used the falling wild goose on the flat sands move to land on the ground. When the red-billed black-headed Shrike swooped down like a fighter jet, Shisu used the dry land pulling onions move to spread his wings and fly high. Because the Shisu sparrow is smaller in size, its turning, takeoff, acceleration and short-distance flight speed are faster than those of the Shrike, which is more than twice its size. Therefore, in close combat, Shisu is more flexible and changeable, while Shrike is more rigid and slow. Although Shrike is fierce and brutal, it can't do anything in front of Shisu Sparrow, which is as flexible as a loach, and can only be anxious. In this way, Shisu and Shrike are seen circling in circles on this open space for fighting, one running in front and the other chasing behind, and the red-billed black-headed Shrike always seems to be half a beat slower. After half an hour, Shrike was so tired that he was panting and out of breath. Finally, he was too lazy to run and squatted on the ground to rest. When Shisu saw that the opportunity for counterattack had come, he took advantage of its unpreparedness and rushed forward with the move of Eagle Strike the Sky, pecked its head fiercely and flew away. Shrike was so angry that he started to chase Shisu again. However, after chasing for several rounds, he still couldn't catch up, so he had to return to the original place to rest again. When Shrike rested, Shisu attacked again and ran away again. After repeating this several times, the Shrike no longer had the strength to chase after the Perilla, so it had to stay where it was, forced to accept the attack from the Perilla. The Perilla was attacking from a high position, and could flexibly choose any angle, with the initiative in its hands. However, the Shrike had to defend from the attack from above, and had to keep turning its head or turning around, which was very troublesome and passive. In the end, the red-billed black-headed Shrike could not stand this kind of physical and psychological torture, and could not see the hope of winning, so it had to admit defeat. The competition referee, the lark, Announced in time, the Parilla Sparrow won, and the champion of the third category, small birds, competition defeated the champion of the second category, medium birds, competition. Oh! The unexpected victory of the Parilla Sparrow, the small wins the big, the weak wins the strong, is a big news that has never been seen in the history of blue forest birds. The whole audience cheered and the screams of various birds resounded through the sky. No Trouble Sparrow Shisa has become famous and has been given the title of King of Birds. From now on, she is afraid of troubles, and troubles will continue. Now, wherever Shisa goes, all kinds of birds follow her, both male and female. The male birds want to learn from the master, and the female birds want to climb up the ladder. Now, the three sparrow sisters feel happy and troubled. Birds come to visit Shisu under various names one after another, and Shisu and the three sisters drive away one group after another. A female thrush named Happy to See You asked the eldest of the three sisters, the thrush, "Are you relatives of the little bird king? Why are you so arrogant? Whether we are his relatives or not is none of your business," said the eldest thrush. "Do you want to bite me? You talk really interestingly, little girl," said the thrush. "If you are not his relatives, get out of here. If you are, I am not afraid. Sooner or later I will make you all wear green hats." "Tisk, you want to threaten me, right?" said the eldest thrush. "I'm not afraid. Come at me if you have the guts, no mistake. One poem, one post, one content, one book, one forum, 1619, one book, one forum. Let the horses go." "Who's afraid of who?" said the thrush. "If I don't want to let them go, I'll let 8 horses come over to scare you girls." 2 days later in the evening, the thrush led 8 beautiful female birds to fly to Zisu's accommodation. These 8 female birds included swallows, turtle doves, parrots, white eyes, lovebirds, nightingales, larks and orioles, each representing a bird species. The thrush was like an ancient brothel madam, smiling at Zisu. "Handsome boy, look, I brought 8 beautiful girls to you tonight. They each have their own skills. Swallows, turtle doves and white eyes are dancers, nightingales, larks and I are singers, parrots, lovebirds and orioles are housekeepers, and we are all willing to serve you in all aspects tonight. What do you think? Since they are so kind, it's not good to chase them away." Thinking of this, Zisu said, "How can I be so embarrassed? I'm so happy that you're here. Don't be so polite." "How do you call me polite?" said the thrush. "Let's listen to some songs first. Let me sing a little song to cheer you up." The thrush happily sang. The thrush landed on the tree, and the brother spread his wings and flew across the river. His graceful figure was imprinted in the water, and his love song intoxicated you and me. With beautiful feathers and sweet voice, the sister sang her love song to her brother. The brother is the green mountain and the sister is the water. The water embraces the green mountain and the mountain lies on the waves. The brother is handsome, the sister is beautiful, and our brother and sister have a long-lasting friendship. In the season when flowers are in full bloom, the brother and sister are a perfect match. Chapter 139 Group Singing and Dancing. Next, the lark also sang a love song called "The Love Between Brother and Sister is Long-Lasting." The love between brother and sister is long, like the sound of flowing water day and night. The flowing water sometimes reaches its end, but brother is always by my side. The love between brother and sister is deep, like a rose. Brother is like the petals, sister is the heart. The lark flew up to the sky, and brother and I played on the swing. The swing swung into the clear sky, like a swallow flying through the clouds. It is difficult for a bird to fly to the sky without wings. Sister is like the tip of a feather. The sweetest thing in the world is honey, and brother's heart is sweeter than honey. Flowers bloom and bees come. Flowers and bees are inseparable. Bees are born to love flowers, and flowers bloom for bees. Finally, it was the nightingale's turn to sing, but it was a hot love song, hot singing, hot flowers, blooming auspicious. Hot love song, hot singing, hot forest, there is the paradise of my love. There are fiery red flowers blooming in the woods, and my heart is here. There are love songs falling from the sky, and it turns out that you passed by here. There are beautiful legends flowing under the rainbow, and it is it that seduces me deeply. Every love song that floats by my side, I listen to it quietly and attentively. Hot love songs, singing hotly, the hot sun makes your face red. Hot love songs, singing hotly, the hot smiles ripple in my heart. There are beautiful legends flowing under the rainbow, and it is it that seduces me deeply. Every love song that floats by my side, I listen to it quietly and attentively. Hot love songs, singing hotly, The hot sun makes your face red. Hot love songs, singing hotly, the hot smiles ripple in my heart. Hot love songs, singing hotly, the hot flowers bloom with auspiciousness. Hot love songs, hot singing, hot forest, there is the paradise of my love. After the singing, it was time to dance. First, there was a solo dance. Swallows, turtle doves and sunbirds took the stage to dance gracefully, each with its own characteristics. The swallows danced freely and freely, with the largest range of movements. They kept flying up and down, left and right in the air like lightning. The turtle doves danced softly and gently, with just the right movements, like a fairy dancing, which made people fall into an indescribable reverie. The sunbirds, who came on stage last, danced delicately and interestingly, as if they were embroidering, full of a kind of beauty like a beautiful girl from a small family. This seemed to be a song and dance party specially held for Perilla, which made it immersed in this wonderful and happy feeling. However, it found that the three sisters around it became more and more upset the more they listened, and more angry the more they looked. In the end, the three of them were so angry that their mouths became crooked, and they became crooked-mouthed women. As the thrush Fanny was invited by the sparrow Zissou, she led her 8 sisters song and dance troupe to perform at her home every now and then. Gradually, an idea came into Zissou's mind. Why don't I take the opportunity to form a Blue Forest song and dance troupe? In this way, I can not only expand my fame, but also enrich my cultural life and get in touch with some celebrities. Why not? Thinking of this, Zissou told this idea to Mifani and humbly asked for her opinion. When the thrush heard it, she was very happy and discussed the formation of the first song and dance troupe of the Blue Forest with the 8 sisters. Everyone was very excited and agreed unanimously. Next, Zissou divided the work among everyone. The nightingale, lark and thrush were responsible for singing, the swallow, the turtle dove and the sunbird were responsible for dancing, the parrot and the lovebird were responsible for publicity and reception, the oriole was the logistics director and was responsible for the catering and accommodation of the song and dance troupe. Zissou was the head of the song and dance troupe, and the thrush Mifani was the deputy head. When the 3 sparrow sisters saw that all the other 8 sisters had such good arrangements except for themselves, they became anxious and asked in unison, "Let's not trouble the eldest brother, what should the 3 of us do?" Zissou said, "This is easy. From now on, the eldest sister Kwemi will lead 800 diligent sparrows to be responsible for the daily meals of all members of our tribe, that is, the eating problem. The second sister Quexing will lead 200 young and strong sparrows to be responsible for the security of everyone including the song and dance troupe. The third sister Kwehu will follow me and be my secretary. Let me, a woman, manage hundreds of grown men." "What should I do if they don't accept it?" asked the eldest sister Kwemi worriedly. "Who dares not to obey?" Zissou said disdainfully, "This is my order. If anyone disobeys, let him come to me." "Which kid is so bold as to disobey you?" the thrush interjected. "You have the brave and invincible little bird king to back you up. What are you afraid of?" "That's right, if any sparrow dares not to obey me, I will ask you to kill it," the second son, Quexing, said unscrupulously. "Hey, Quexing, don't tell me about trivial matters. I'm busy," Zissou said. "You should first carry out ideological education patiently, and try not to let the contradictions among the people expand to the contradictions between the enemy and us. Of course, at the beginning, in order to establish your authority, you can appropriately use my chicken, bird, feathers as a command to command and urge them. By the way, my request to you, the second son, is also the request to the eldest son, Quemini. Yes, we will definitely do it according to your request, brother. Please rest assured, brother," the eldest and the second son answered in unison. At this time, the third brother Kwehu asked Zissou in a low voice, "What is a secretary?" "A secretary is responsible for taking care of the boss's food, clothing, housing and transportation every day," Zissou said. "To be specific, you have to take care of my daily eating, drinking, defecating, urinating and sleeping. Except when I go to the toilet to defecate and urinate, you have to follow me all the time and never leave my side. This is my secretary. Simply put, she is my life caregiver and my housekeeper. Do you understand?" Chapter 140 Touring Performance. "I see," the third child said, and lowered his head in embarrassment. "Are you not happy?" Zissou saw Kuhl lowering her head, so she teased her deliberately. "I am happy." "I didn't say I was not happy," Kuhl blushed. "I am happy, Why are you still lowering your head? The second child Kwek-sing also asked jokingly. I am shy, the eldest child Mei said. With such excellent conditions, don't miss the opportunity, the thrush teased Kui. Don't forget the one who is close to the water gets the moon first. The third child Kuhl blushed even more when he heard it. Sure enough, Zisu's newly formed song and dance troupe became an instant hit in this mysterious forest. In a few days, it spread from 1 person to 10, and from 10 to 100. In less than a month, it spread throughout the primeval forest and even became a household name. This is the first time in the history of the Blue Forest. All those birds who feel that they have some power or are relatively wealthy will invite Zisu's song and dance troupe to perform whenever they have something to do. Zisu's requirements are not high, and he only asks the organizer to pay for food and accommodation. At first, the organizer was terrified when he saw the troupe and a large group of guards coming. He thought, aren't these rich people coming? Bringing so many mouths to our house is really a bit too much for us to handle. So he hurriedly went forward to ask, Hey, Master, are all the people you brought with you from the troupe? Zisu said puzzledly, Yes. Is there any problem? It's hard to feed so many people, said the organizer. Really? Zisu said, then what kind of birds did you invite to watch the show? There are the district chief of this forest area, the Bird King, the top 50 martial arts, the Bird Kings and top 20 martial arts of several nearby forest areas, and all our clan members. Then do you solve the problem of feeding these audiences? Zisu asked. This, the organizer said embarrassedly, in fact, we only solve the food problem of the Bird Kings in each district, and the rest are all solved by themselves. In that case, Zisu said, then you are only responsible for the food problem of the 11 members of our troupe, and the food problem of my 200 guards will be solved by ourselves. That's easy, the organizer said with a sense of relief. Since the big problem of food has been solved, everything will be easy. The performance went very smoothly and received unanimous praise from everyone. Not long after, the king of the Blue Forest, the champion of this year's Big Bird martial arts competition, the owl, celebrated his birthday and invited the Zisu dance troupe to come to cheer. Zisu certainly would not give up this opportunity to let him get in touch with the upper class of birds. He found out more about this owl and named it Dao Menzi because of his funny and humorous personality and his love of joking. Today is the 8th birthday of Dao Menzi Owl. In the evening, when the sun was about to set, Zisu led his dance troupe and his guards to the owl's residence as usual. Because owls are night owls, they sleep during the day and work at night. So, it is only appropriate to come at this time. The owl personally led the crowd to the gate to greet them, which made Zisu and his party flattered and very happy. Originally, the seat next to the owl was reserved for a golden eagle, but the owl said to the golden eagle, Brother, your butt is too big. Please change seats. The golden eagle asked, Then where should I sit? The owl said, You can sit wherever you want, but you can't sit in this seat. The owl said again, You have a big butt, and big butts should take care of small butts. This seat is reserved for the small butt bird king. Do you understand? When the golden eagle heard this, he rolled his eyes in anger, looked at Zisu in front of him, and glared at him fiercely. But the funny owl smiled and said to the purple sparrow, Hey, little bird king, come here and sit next to me. When Purple Sparrow heard it, he quickly shook his head and said, How can I say that? I'd better sit down. The owl pretended to be angry and said, Why, are my words the same as fart? Can't I, the big bird king, command you, the little bird king? There is no mistake in the poem, the content, and the book in 1619. How dare I? Where? Zisu hurriedly borrowed a donkey to go down the slope. Obedience is worse than respect. I'll be right over. That's good. The owl waited for Zisu to sit down beside it and said, I like obedient little birds the most. I always say what I mean. Of course, you always say what you mean, Zisu flattered, and for us little birds, if you say she is a freshman, she is a senior, and if you say she is a sophomore, she is a sophomore. Wow. I didn't expect that you, little thing, are good at flattering. The owl smiled and said, but I still like it very much. Seeing that Zisu lowered her head in embarrassment, the owl joked, Oh, you are shy like a girl. Interesting. After a while, the owl asked again, What programs have your dance troupe prepared this time? First singing, then dancing, and finally poetry recitation. What do you think? Zisu said cautiously. Well, not bad. I think it's okay, Damunzi said. Now the guests are almost all here. Let's start now. Zissou nodded to the parrot twice, indicating that the owl's birthday party could start immediately. As the host of the party, the parrot walked to the center of the stage leisurely and announced to the audience, "The celebration party for the 8-year-old long-tail birthday of the Blue Forest King Owl Dao Munzi will begin now. First, the Thrushla Fanny will present a golden song, Happy Birthday to You." The Thrushla Fanny flew to the center of the stage and sang, "Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, I wish you happiness, I wish you health, and I wish you a bright future. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, I wish you happiness, I wish you health, and I wish you a warm family." Next, the lark and the nightingale also sang a birthday song each. Chapter 141, Blessings and Disasters Are Unpredictable. When it came to the dance performance, the swallows, turtle doves and sunbirds each showed their unique skills and performed very hard, winning applause. Finally, a newly choreographed program, Ladders of Clouds, was jointly directed by the swallows and lovebirds to stack 8 high ladders. Each ladder was stacked by 9 sparrows, representing the owl's 8th birthday, which received a full house of applause and brought the birthday party to a climax. Finally, the host, the parrot, performed a poem recitation birthday celebration, "Sincerely pray for the morning sun to represent the warmth of spring, and the congratulations are sincere and heartfelt. The literary and military strategies draw a blueprint, and the elegant and beautiful face has a lofty heart. The birthday is in April, the warm season of spring, and friends and relatives offer birthday gifts every day. Light the birthday candle quickly, and the happy ones will have a bright future. There is a dark wild goose in the vast sky, willing to follow the blackbird to ask whether it is male or female. There are more than you, why should you laugh at your mediocrity? Life and aging are determined by heaven, and the sun and the moon are affectionate and always follow fate. Don't laugh at the eagle singing, and happiness will turn beautiful dreams into blue sky. Invite friends to Taoyuan, the moonlight and candlelight never sleep. Today is the day of Huadin, and I wish you happiness and peace." During the party, Zissou asked in a daze, "Big Bird King, why didn't I see your wife come out to the party?" The owl said, "I haven't got married yet. Where can I get a wife?" "Ah, you haven't got married yet? It's unbelievable," Zissou said. "Do you want me to help you, big brother?" "Don't worry," the owl said. "As the saying goes, if you are destined to meet, you will meet even if you are thousands of miles apart, but if you are not destined to meet, you will not meet even if you are facing each other. Just let it be." After the party, the owl kept the dance troupe to have dinner with it. After dinner, he personally sent Zissou and his party out, and welcomed the dance troupe to come and play often. Zissou agreed. From then on, as long as the troupe did not have a performance, Zissou would take the troupe to visit Owl's house to perform and keep in touch. She would not eat dinner at Dao Menzi's house, saying that she had eaten a full meal, which made Owl feel embarrassed. Finally, the well-behaved thrush took the opportunity to suggest, "Since you two brothers have such a good relationship, why don't you become sworn brothers?" Zissou hurriedly pretended to refuse and said, "Brother Owl is the king of birds and belongs to the aristocratic upper class. We sparrows belong to the lower class of the pariah society. How can we be so high class?" Zissou's words made Dao Menzi embarrassed. The owl had to say, "You are too modest. As the saying goes, a hero does not care about his origin. Nobles and commoners, upper and lower classes, I don't care about these empty words. As long as you are willing, I have no problem with you. That's great. Today I will climb up to your big tree, brother." Zissou hurriedly stood up and bowed. "Brother, please accept my bow." "Ha ha, ha ha." The owl laughed. The big bird king and the little bird king became sworn brothers. This will surely become a good story in the history of the Blue Forest. It's very interesting. Ha ha, ha ha. As the saying goes, some are happy, some are sad. The owl and Zissou were happy, but the shrike, the champion of the bird competition, defeated by Zissou and the golden eagle beside the owl, were envious and jealous, and felt very aggrieved. One day, the golden eagle met the red-billed black-headed shrike and complained bitterly, saying, "Hey, we are both homeless now." The red-billed black-headed shrike immediately agreed. "Who said it wasn't true? Look, we used to be so glorious and happy. Hey, now, all the limelight has been taken away by that stinky boy." The golden eagle said, "That's right. What's the matter? Even if you throw us on the side of the road now, no one will care. Not to mention that people will even look at us." The red-billed black-headed shrike said, "That's right. Not only will no one pay attention to you, but you have to make way for others." When the golden eagle heard what the red-billed black-headed shrike said, He was so angry that his whole body trembled and his face turned blue. Obviously, he knew that the red-billed black-headed shrike was mocking him for giving up his seat to the little bird king Zisu under the pressure of the owl. He really couldn't swallow this breath, thinking that it was too hurtful to his self-esteem. When the red-billed black-headed shrike mentioned this matter this time, he became even angrier and felt ashamed. So the golden eagle gnashed his teeth and said, "One day, I will let that kid know how powerful I am. With a common goal, everything will be easy." Soon, the two of them came together with like-minded people. No mistake, one poem, one post, one content, 1 book, 1 bar. From then on, the golden eagle and the red-billed black-headed shrike colluded with each other and secretly planned conspiracies and tricks to plot and murder Zisu and his team. On this day, Zisu was leading some guards to practice martial arts on a lawn in a relatively remote open space in the forest. Not only did he practice himself, he also taught those martial arts seedlings that he thought had a future to practice, and carefully taught them the moves he was already familiar with. At the same time, he created new martial arts moves, such as straight attack on the dragon gate, strange man turnover, cross the golden beam, upside down golden hook and guest star offending the moon. Just when Zisu was practicing enthusiastically, suddenly, a fierce golden eagle swooped down from the sky like a storm. A sentinel sparrow spotted the golden eagle falling from the sky and immediately screamed to Zisu like an alarm. Zisu looked up at the golden eagle flying closer and closer, and was so scared that he immediately hid in a dense tree next to him. The guard sparrow beside him also hid in the tree at the same time, making the golden eagle who wanted to attack Zisu look at the dense tree and worry. The golden eagle thought, "Such a big tree, and there are so many sparrows hiding, how can I find them? Besides, the branches and leaves of this big tree are too dense, how can I get in with such a big body? Even if I get in, it will be very difficult to get out. By the time you get in there, this little bastard will have already flown away. Oh, what a mistake. This little beast is lucky this time. I will find a way to deal with it next time." Thinking of this, the golden eagle snorted twice unwillingly and flew away angrily. Chapter 142 Encountering a Strong Enemy. One day, when Zisu led a group of sparrows passing through a meadow, they found that the hateful red-billed black-headed shrike was killing a few lone sparrows with a few guys. Zisu was furious and rushed to stop them, saying, "What are you doing? Why are you killing birds? It's my own business, what do you have to do with me?" The red-billed black-headed shrike said angrily, and another yellow-billed gray-haired shrike next to him also joined in, "Minding my business is a waste of money. Oh, you kid has done so many evil things, and you don't want anyone to take care of you, right?" Zisu said indignantly, "Brothers, come on. Beat these bastards up for me." After that, he led the hundreds of sparrows around him to pounce on the evil shrikes. "Tisk, you want to bully others just because you are in large numbers? No way. I don't want to play with you anymore. Guys, let's go." Before he finished speaking, he took the shrikes around him and flew towards the bushes not far away. Suddenly, a golden eagle flew out from the deep bushes behind Zisu and swooped down on him. As soon as Zisu heard the sound of a large bird's wings flapping rapidly in the air behind him, he knew that he had been plotted against by the golden eagle and the shrike and had been ambushed by the enemy. This was an open area, and there were no large trees with dense leaves nearby to hide in, so the situation was very bad. In a hurry, the Zisu sparrow adopted a rabbit-hopping tactic to face the golden eagle swooping down from behind him. When the golden eagle was about to pounce on it, it immediately used the dry land onion move to fly forward 45 degrees, flew to a height of 4 or 5 meters, and then used the flat sand falling wild goose move to land on the ground urgently. When the golden eagle pounced behind it again, it repeated the above actions again. After repeating this several times, Zisu finally hid in the bushes in front. At the beginning, the bushes were relatively sparse, and the golden eagle could still flutter a few times. As the bushes became denser and denser, the golden eagle dared not and could not chase Zisu. This made Zisu feel relieved. Just when the parula sparrow thought it was safe, several evil shrikes that had escaped and were hiding here suddenly surrounded it. It was surrounded by bushes all around it, with nowhere to run or fly, and no guards around it. It was alone and in a desperate situation. Seeing that the 4 shrikes surrounded Zisu and left it with no way to escape, the red-billed black-headed shrike couldn't help laughing. "Ha ha, ha ha. Little bastard, I'll see where you can escape to." Those who go against me will have a bad end. Looking at the shrikes that were at least twice as big as him, Zissou said with courage and fearlessness, "You are not a hero if you use your numbers to bully the few. I think you're just a straw bag. To deal with a difficult character like you, of course I have to use extraordinary means," the red-billed black-headed shrike said nonchalantly. "Those shitty reputations are useless. They are not worth eating or drinking. I don't care about those empty things." Zissou thought, the situation is critical now. It is the best strategy to launch a surprise attack and break through the siege when the enemy thinks they have a chance of winning. So without waiting for the red-billed black-headed shrike to finish speaking, it used the move of striking the dragon gate and attacked the red-billed black-headed shrike on the head. This sudden attack caught the red-billed black-headed shrike off guard, and it dodged to the side in a hurry. Zissou immediately turned around with the move Swimming Dragon, and then attacked another shrike behind him with the move Guest Star Invading the Moon. The shrike behind him didn't expect Zissou to turn around and attack it. It was pecked hard on the head and screamed ouch in pain and dodged to the side. Zissou took the opportunity to use the move Swallow Drilling Clouds to break out of the encirclement and run to a sparse bush nearby. When it ran to the bush with a big hole on its head, it flew out of the bush with a move a crane soaring to the sky and flew towards its own nest. Unexpectedly, it was intercepted by the golden eagle that had been waiting here for a long time as soon as it flew up. When Zissou saw this, he was so scared that he turned around and went back to the dense bushes, and had to play hide-and-seek with the enemy bird again. Not long after Zissou returned to the bushes, he was entangled by those rogues again. This time, it first attacked the injured shrike, forcing it to dodge quickly. Then it used the move Strange Mang, turning over plus the move Golden Rooster, seizing the grain to attack the other uninjured shrike on the left. No mistake. Because it turned to the left instead of backwards this time, the speed was faster than last time, making it more difficult for the enemy bird to defend. Another shrike was pecked in the eye socket by Zissou's sharp beak, and almost blinded the eye. It was in great pain, causing this shrike to temporarily lose its combat effectiveness. At this time, the red-billed black-headed shrike and the uninjured shrike swooped down on Zissou from both sides with great momentum. Zissou used the move Graceful as a startled swan, plus the move Swallow, flipping the clouds to avoid the enemy bird's attack. Zissou used the hanging golden hook to hook a shrub branch, and then used the blackbird scratching sand and Guest Star offending the moon to peck out one eye of the uninjured red-billed black-headed shrike accomplice, causing it to faint from the pain and completely lose its fighting power. Next, Zissou used all his skills to launch a continuous attack on the red-billed black-headed shrike, and all of them were special moves, such as riding the dragon to track the phoenix, golden peng spreading wings, pearl rolling upside down curtain, and horizontal golden beam, which made the red-billed black-headed shrike exhausted and only had the ability to defend itself, but no chance to fight back. As for the red-billed black-headed shrike's accomplice, Zissou adopted the tactic of avoiding the real and attacking the fake, hitting it hard when there was a chance, and just dodging it when there was no chance. After all the enemy birds were injured, and their confidence and fighting power were greatly reduced. Now, even their leader, the red-billed black-headed shrike, was pecked hard, and finally Zissou took the opportunity to peck one of its eyes blind, causing it to faint from the pain. Zissou was now full of confidence, and wanted to pounce on the damned red-billed black-headed shrike and peck it to death. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143, A Poisonous Scheme. Unexpectedly, the three shrike accomplices came up desperately to protect and try their best to stop Zissou from committing the crime. Finally, the red-billed black-headed shrike woke up and fled with his accomplices in disgrace. Zissou completely defeated the shrike siege and won a great victory. Now, there are no enemies in the bushes, and Zissou's safety is temporarily guaranteed. But how can he get out of the bushes and go home? After a long time, Zissou's guards found him one after another, surrounded him, and gathered around Zissou. It turned out that the golden eagle was guarding outside the bushes to prevent the sparrows from entering the bushes to help Zissou. Any sparrow that tried to enter the bushes would be bitten without thinking, and it had killed 20 to 30 of Zissou's brothers. The remaining dozens of sparrows also fought hard and finally got into the bushes. This means that although Zissou won a great victory in the bushes, he suffered a great defeat outside the bushes. Zissou thought, at present, it seems impossible to rush out during the day. We can only wait until night and sneak out in the dark. Besides, golden eagles can only move during the day. At night, they cannot see and cannot move. Owls are just the opposite. They sleep during the day and come out at night. Maybe they can save us. Thinking of this, Zissou said to the sparrows, "Hey, listen up, it seems that we can't go back during the day. We can only sneak out after dark. Now everyone can look for insects and other things to eat in the bushes. After eating, have a good sleep and move at night." The birds thought it was a good idea. So everyone began to look down and look for insects to eat. After more than an hour, everyone had almost eaten, so they fell asleep in the bushes and soon fell asleep. However, to prevent accidents, Zissou still left a few vigilant sparrows to stand guard. When the sun was about to set, the sky was full of rays of light, which was incomparably beautiful. Suddenly, a sentry came to report that a big snake was rushing towards us from the southeast. Zissou hurriedly woke everyone up and asked them to fly to the branches of the bushes higher than the ground, hold on to the branches tightly and hold their breath as much as possible. Because snakes are usually nearsighted and are only sensitive to moving organisms. In addition, Zissou sent a few strong and fast-running sparrows to track the big snake to a place with fewer bushes. After arriving there, they just had to hold on to the high branches of the bushes tightly and hold their breath as Zissou taught them. After a while, a 2 or 3 meter long cobra whizzed through the bushes under Zissou and the other sparrows like a crazy old-fashioned train. It was being attracted to a place with fewer bushes by a few sparrows jumping in the bushes. Not long after, this stupid cobra was discovered by the golden eagle that had been hungry all day, and became a delicacy in the eyes of the golden eagle. It was soon caught and eaten by the golden eagle. The crisis of Shishou in the bushes was eliminated by its borrowing a knife to kill plan. Night fell, and soon, the cry of an owl was heard in the distant forest. When the golden eagle heard it, he knew that it was dark and he could not see it. It would be impossible to do anything if he stayed here, so he had to fly away in the dark again indignantly. Shishou finally escaped the encirclement of the opponent again, and successfully returned to the station with his frightened brothers. The experience of being chased and beaten by the golden eagle twice made Shishou feel very upset and uncomfortable, and it decided to fight back. How to fight back? It is obviously not enough to rely on the power of Shishou and other small birds alone. It must rely on other bigger and stronger forces to achieve it. Should we incite the owl to fight with a golden eagle? I'm afraid it won't work. Who knows what their relationship is? Besides, if the owl is very cunning and doesn't fall for it, and suspects that he has bad intentions, it will be troublesome. Shishou thought, yes, it's better for me to solve it privately. With my human wisdom, I don't believe that I can't defeat this flat-haired beast. After thinking it through, it fell into deep sleep and entered a wonderful dream. To attack the golden eagle, you must first grasp its daily movements. No mistakes, 1 post, 1 content, 1 6, 1 9, 1 book, 1 bar. Zissou sent 2 of his confidants to find out and track where the golden eagle has been active and foraging in recent days. It itself stayed at home or practiced at home not far away. A few days later, Zissou got the news that the golden eagle often went to a wetland with weeds to catch snakes to eat. It is estimated that it has been addicted to eating delicious and tender snake meat since the last time. Moreover, it is now May, and small animals such as snakes, rats and rabbits are hungry after hibernation, and they begin to come out frequently to find food. At this stage, it is a good time for raptors such as flying eagles and golden eagles to hunt snakes, rats and rabbits. According to this accurate information, Zissou called the nightingale from the song and dance troupe that day, gave it a special mission, and explained some precautions in detail. He also asked for a few days off for it, so that it would not have to go out to perform these days, sleep at home during the day, and go out to perform tasks at night. That night, after dinner, the nightingale flew out in a hurry. After an hour's flight, it arrived at the wetland that Zissou told it. The nightingale flew to a small tree in the wetland. In order to attract guests, it began to sing, first singing a song Starry Night, I wish to pick 1,000 bunches of starlight, hang dreams in your heart, and warm this most beautiful night. I wish to use the fragrance of this tree of flowers to conceive a sweet future and spread love on a poetic night. Hanging thousands of strings of starlight gently on the tree will make tonight long. Which bird can do it, and how can it accompany you for the nights of your life? I will feel lucky to have met it from now on. lighting up all my hopes and expectations. Let every love in your heart, every true feeling in your heart, weave the hope of a lifetime. Chapter 144 Special Mission. A trace of tenderness fell into the dreamland, and the sentimental breeze sang endlessly tonight. A trace of tenderness fell into the dreamland. Dear tonight, please kiss this heart quietly. I wish to pick 1,000 bunches of starlight, hang the dream in your heart, and warm this most beautiful night. I wish to use the fragrance of a tree of flowers to envision the sweet future and spread love all over the poetic night. Let the thousands of strings of starlight hang gently on the tree, so that tonight will become long. Which bird can do it? How can it be able to accompany you for the night of your life? I feel lucky to have met you all my life, and light up all my hopes and expectations. Let every love in my heart, the true feeling in my heart, weave a lifetime of hope. The nightingale's song has not yet finished, and it attracts a 3-meter-long big flower snake. The big flower snake feels very strange. Oh, tonight is really interesting. A silly bird is still howling here so late. Is this the father who died, or the mother who died? However, it is definitely not the mother-in-law who died. I don't believe that the son-in-law who died of his mother-in-law is howling so hard. Maybe it's a female bird, and her father-in-law or mother-in-law died? That's even more impossible. Nowadays, there are few daughters-in-law who are a little better to their parents-in-law. I don't believe this at all. Thinking of this, the big flower snake wandered in front of the nightingale, looked up at the nightingale on the small tree and said, "Hey, little bird, why are you howling? Did your father die or your mother die? You are crying so loudly." The nightingale scolded, "Shut your stinky mouth. I'm not crying. I'm singing a love song about the night. You tone deaf and deaf. What I'm saying to you is just like playing the lute to a cow. Oh, I'm telling you something, but you're getting arrogant," the big flower snake said dissatisfiedly. "Believe it or not, if you make me mad, I will eat you in one bite." "Oh, you are so powerful. I'm so scared," the nightingale laughed. "Do you think birds are poor creatures like you who can only crawl in holes on the ground? They have wings but can fly. Besides, they are standing on such a high branch, so they are not afraid of you. Okay. You have guts, you are cruel," the big flower snake said unyieldingly. "But, why are you howling here tonight? No, singing, what's the matter? Can you tell me about it? You are not a poisonous snake, so there is no point talking to you," said the nightingale. "Go wherever you want. I still have to sing." "Then why do you have to find a poisonous snake and look down on me, a big snake? Am I not also a snake? Are you afraid of the golden eagle? Do you dare to come out in broad daylight?" asked the nightingale. "Why should I come out during the day? As for the golden eagle, who is not afraid? As long as it is a snake, no matter you are venomous or non-venomous, we are afraid of it. After all, it is an omnipotent and ferocious bully in the sky, and we snakes are just poor creatures crawling on the ground. Don't make it sound so pitiful. If you were a venomous snake, I could teach you how to turn defeat into victory." "Tisk, you are better at bragging than me. For millions of years, we snakes have not found an effective way to deal with eagles. What good methods can a mere bird like you have? I have the guidance of gods, unlike you reptiles. With such a low IQ, how can you deal with the domineering overlord of the sky? Very good. Since you look down on us so much, why are you working so hard to find venomous snakes? Aren't you slapping yourself in the face? I am doing this to save you snakes. I heard that this golden eagle especially likes to eat snakes. It said it would kill all you snakes this year. I sympathize with you and uphold justice. Do you understand? You really care about us and are good to us? Then you are a living bodhisattva. We snakes will definitely thank you for your great kindness." Of course, the purpose of my coming tonight is to tell poisonous snakes the most effective way to deal with the golden eagles. You are not a poisonous snake, so don't waste your time here, just go and play. You are bullying me because I am not a poisonous snake, right? The big flower snake said angrily, "But I also know a few poisonous snakes. I can call one or two for you. Believe it?" "No, I absolutely don't believe it," the nightingale said without any belief. "You also know poisonous snakes? When you see a poisonous snake coming, it would be good enough if you don't run away in fear. Don't brag in front of me and delay my singing. I still want to sing love songs here to seduce poisonous snakes and beautiful snakes!" Exclamation mark. You really take my words as fart. It really makes me mad, the big flower snake said angrily. "I'll find a poisonous snake for you right away, and let you see how powerful I am." After that, he slipped away angrily. When the nightingale saw the big flower snake had gone, It opened its throat and sang another song, "The Night That Will Never End." I don't know if you remember yesterday, you were the bird I missed the most in my life. Now you are no longer by my side, but your smile lingers in my heart. I don't know if you are lonely now, you have your own way to go in the future. I just realized that you no longer promised, and this life is a bit absurd. All eternity is frozen, and my attachment to you cannot be cut off. I still remember that day you said that your love for me will never change. Even if I lose the whole world, I want to hear you say it again. I want you to be by my side forever. The sleeping bird can also fly. In this night that will never end, let everything turn into smoke. My longing for you will never change. The nightingale sang this song 3 times in a row. During this period, 2 mountain mice, a hare and a small non-venomous snake passed under the small tree where it stayed. Among them, the hare and the small snake stayed for a while to listen to it singing. The nightingale was too lazy to pay attention to them and kept singing. Then, the nightingale sang the previous song Starry Night 3 times, and finally attracted a cobra. The cobra asked, "Beautiful bird, why are you singing love songs here at this time of night instead of going home to sleep? I'm waiting for you." "It seems that my mission is almost completed," said the nightingale. Chapter 145, Snake Kills Golden Eagle. "What do you want from me? You don't want to die, do you? You are one of my favorite dishes," said the cobra. "Tisk, you are so useless. If you keep smiling like this, I will fly away and ignore you," said the nightingale angrily. "Don't be angry, beautiful lady. It was just a little joke. I'm asking you, are you afraid of golden eagles? Do you dare to come out in broad daylight? Golden eagles, who isn't afraid? That guy is very hateful and domineering. We are more afraid of it. Normally, unless we are very hungry, we won't come out in broad daylight to look for food. Why are you asking me this? I want to teach you the best way to turn defeat into victory, defeat and eat golden eagles." "Ah. You actually have this ability. You are not deliberately teasing me to make me happy, are you, Tisk? Do you think I am a lunatic, running here to sing in the middle of the night to ask for trouble?" said the nightingale. "Don't you, the nightingale, like to sing at night and stay up late? Don't tease me." "Do you think I don't know?" said the cobra in disbelief. "Let's stop joking. Let's get down to business, shall we?" "Okay. I want to see what tricks you have to hunt down the king of the sky. From ancient times to the present, I have never heard of us snakes having a good way to deal with the golden eagles." The nightingale smiled and explained to the cobra the method and specific details of how to catch the golden eagle. "Wow. It's brilliant, really brilliant," the cobra said in surprise. "Such a brilliant plan, how could I not think of it? Tell me." "Of course, this is a brilliant trick thought up by our Blue Forest King, the Little Bird King, and it was he who asked me to convey it to you. It seems that your Little Bird King is a very powerful character. We snakes can definitely destroy the golden eagle by joining forces with your Bird King. Of course, the golden eagle is our common enemy now, and we must kill it." "Yes. In the past few days, 2 of my brothers and sisters have suffered from its poisonous hands. It would be a shame not to avenge this. Can you tell all the venomous snakes the method I taught you?" "I'm afraid not. We venomous snakes are also divided into groups and tribes. Many tribes and different species of venomous snakes do not know each other, such as 5-step snakes, pit vipers, coral snakes and rattlesnakes. Oh, I am so miserable. It seems that I will have to sing here for a few more nights." "Hey, don't complain," the cobra comforted it. "The more capable you are, the more work you should do. For our common cause, it is worthwhile to work harder. Is there a better way?" the nightingale said helplessly. "I will try my best to convey it to you. Take care of yourself." After the cobra said this, he said goodbye and left. The nightingale had no choice but to continue singing. Afterwards, it sang love songs for 3 consecutive nights, and taught a total of 20 to 30 poisonous snakes the tricks to kill the golden eagle. Since the nightingale started singing and teaching that night, in the 3 days after the serpent began to sing and teach, the poisonous snakes did not dare to come out during the day, and only let the golden eagle catch 2 small non-venomous snakes. How could this happen? It turned out that the poisonous snakes were arguing about who would be the bait. No one wanted to be the bait, fearing that they would die if they were caught by the golden eagle. After arguing for 3 days, a female cobra who had lost her husband finally gritted her teeth and stood up, willing to be the bait to avenge the loss of her husband. On the morning of the 4th day, a brave female cobra finally appeared leisurely on the wetland that the golden eagle overlooked from above almost every day, and it was in a very conspicuous place, waiting for the golden eagle to come. At about 2 o'clock in the afternoon of that day, the golden eagle appeared, and it was surprised to find a cobra foolishly slithering around on the ground, as if it didn't know that this wetland was its territory. Doesn't this stupid snake know that it is very threatening to do so? All the small animals that move here during the day are food for the golden eagle. Obviously, the cobra's behavior is a contempt and challenge to the authority of the golden eagle. Thinking of this, the golden eagle was furious, and his brain became hot, so he dived down at the ignorant cobra without hesitation, and he wanted to tear the venomous snake into pieces to relieve his hatred. No mistakes in one poem, one post, one content, one book, one forum, 1619, one book, one forum, one look. At the moment when its two steel-like claws grabbed the female cobra, suddenly, from the deep grass on the left side of the golden eagle and from under the big rock on the right side, two other poisonous snakes jumped out at the same time and attacked the golden eagle as fast as lightning. The golden eagle was shocked and caught off guard. It was bitten in the abdomen and thigh by two poisonous snakes respectively. It felt a sharp pain, and then the paralysis around the wound began to spread. It was so scared that it hurriedly shook off the cobra in its claws and flapped its wings to fly upwards. However, the higher the golden eagle flew, the more unbearable the pain and fatigue it felt. Its body became heavier and heavier, and it became more and more difficult to breathe. At the same time, it became more and more difficult to flap its wings. It barely managed to climb 30 or 40 meters high. Suddenly, it fell to darkness in front of its eyes, and it could not see or hear anything. It fell straight to the ground. After falling to the ground, its wings fluttered for a while, and its body twitched a few times before it stopped moving. Its soul returned to heaven. The golden eagle, the king of the sky, was finally bitten to death by the poisonous snake. This incident shocked the entire blue forest. All creatures, whether flying in the sky or crawling on the ground, spread it as a legendary story. A major threat to Zisu was eliminated. However, it still did not give up its practice, and did not slack off even for a single day during the days when it was plotting against the golden eagle. Now, Zisu has shifted the focus of its martial arts practice to the dense forest with lush branches and leaves and the bushes covered with thorns. It feels that only by making full use of these natural resources can it hope to defeat the powerful enemy. After half a month of exploration, it basically developed a set of methods for fighting in the woods and another set of methods for fighting in the bushes. Then, it selected 30 of the smartest, most capable, young and strong sparrows from hundreds of sparrows as its first batch of students, and taught them its two sets of combat methods hand in hand. Chapter 146, The Xiongnu Ant Tribe. It is said that since Queen Susan built her own imperial city, she has been working non-stop to produce and cultivate her people. The funny thing is that the imperial city was not built in a tree stump, but in a strange thing buried deep there. A rusty iron can, which was discarded by a neighboring human child after eating the leftovers, and it still contained 2 kilograms of mangoes soaked in sugar. After settling in the new palace, Queen Susan began to lay eggs in large numbers, and she obtained abundant sugar, protein, fat and vitamins. Her first batch of children built a nursery right below the imperial city, using the heat generated by the decomposition of humus oil to keep warm. This is the most convenient stopgap measure while waiting for the completion of the branch dome and solar nursery project. Queen Susan hopes that her city-state will have all known technologies, mushroom fields, kettle ants, aphid livestock, ivy beams, honey to fermentation rooms, cereal flour mills, mercenaries, spy organizations and organic chemistry laboratories, and so on. The young queen ant knew how to spread enthusiasm and hope. She would never agree to her city-state becoming a federation similar to other city-states. She was ambitious to make Susan's city-state different and turned the ants into highly civilized vanguards. Queen Susan was full of ideas and plans. For example, an underground river was found near the 13th floor of the ground. According to her, water is an element that has not been thoroughly studied, and it should be possible to find a way to walk freely on it. In the first stage, a team was formed to study insects living in fresh water, water fleas, sword water fleas, water fleas. Can these insects be eaten? Will there be a day when they can be raised in well-managed puddles? Queen Susan's first statement was about aphids. We are heading towards an era of war and chaos, and weapons are becoming more and more complex, and we cannot keep up with them at all times. Perhaps one day, it will become difficult and scarce to go out hunting, and we must be prepared for the worst. we must consider aphid breeding as a priority way to obtain the main sugar supply. These livestock will be placed at the bottom of the city-state. 50 people went out to catch 2 aphids ready to give birth. All affairs of the city-state were carried out step by step. After a few hours, the city-state was already breeding hundreds of small aphids, with their wings plucked one by one. The group placed the first batch of livestock at the beginning of animal husbandry on the 21st floor underground, protecting them from ladybugs and providing a large amount of fresh leaves and succulent stems. Queen Susan also sent expeditions to every corner. Some brought back toadstool spores, which were immediately planted in the mushroom field. The ambitious queen even decided to fulfill her original dream, planting a row of carnivorous plants along the eastern border. She hoped to deter termites from acting rashly or even using their secret weapons to attack. Afterwards, Queen Susan also sent a diplomatic envoy to the capital of the Red Ant Kingdom. The mission of the envoy was to report to Queen Saffron of the Red Ant Kingdom the establishment of the 128th city-state and the willingness to join the Red Ant Kingdom. Just when Queen Susan was working hard to run her city-state, suddenly, the frontier sentinel ants came to report, the Xiongnu ants are coming. The city of Susan was immediately in a panic, and the exhausted sentinel ants and spy ants spread the latest news in the new city-state. Xiongnu ants. Xiongnu ants. The Xiongnu ants' terrifying reputation has long been known overseas. Just as some ants prioritize developing a certain specialty, such as animal husbandry, warehousing, mushroom cultivation and chemical experiments, the Xiongnu ants' only specialty is fighting. They only know this and treat fighting as an art. The Xiongnu ant's body structure is so coordinated that the tips of the smallest joints have formed curved hooks, their carapaces are twice as thick as those of red ants, and their narrow heads are perfectly triangular, leaving the enemy with nowhere to exert force. Their big mouths, in profile, are like a group of elephants, like 2 crescent-shaped scimitars, and their flexibility when dancing is shocking. Of course, the Xiongnu ants' customs are also naturally formed because they have developed their expertise to an extreme extent. Because of the pursuit of power, they are almost on the verge of extinction. Having been aggressive for so long, these ants have lost their way in building nests, raising children, and even feeding themselves. The scimitar-like mouths are invincible on the battlefield, but they cannot eat properly. Although the hun ants are so belligerent, they are not stupid at all. Since they are unable to do some daily tasks that are indispensable to life, they find others to do it for them. The hun ants particularly like to choose small monkey ants or medium-sized black ants, white termites, yellow ants, and red ants as their targets for plunder. They have neither poisonous stings nor formic acid glands. They first surround the coveted nest. When the residents of the besieged ant nest find that all the outgoing worker ants have been killed, they will definitely close the entrance and exit. This is the time for the hun ants to launch the first wave of attacks. They easily break through the defense line and open a crack in the city-state, and the ants in the tunnel are all panicked. At this time, the frightened worker ants try to dig another exit to send the ant eggs to a safe place. As the hun ants expected, they blocked every exit, forcing the workers to put down their precious burdens. They only kill the ants that refuse to obey. In the world of ants, killing is never done without reason. After the war, the hun ants occupied the ant nest and forced the surviving workers to move the eggs to the hun ants' territory to continue to care for them. When the young ants emerged from their cocoons, they were immediately indoctrinated with the idea of serving these invaders. These young ants knew nothing about the past and thought it was natural to obey the vicious and domineering hun ants. Every time they plundered the village, the slaves who had served longer hid far away under the weeds, waiting for their masters to clean up the area. Chapter 147, Coming with a Strong Force. When the Xiongnu ants returned victoriously, these slaves would enter the area and transform themselves into clever housewives, mixing the newly loaded ant eggs with the existing ant eggs, and educating the prisoners and their children to obey the Xiongnu ants' rule. As these robbers migrated, the captured ants overlapped generations. Generally speaking, each Xiongnu ant had 3 slaves to serve it, 1 to feed it. The Xiongnu ants could only chew the food that the slaves fed it mouthful by mouthful, 1 to groom it. The salivary glands of the Xiongnu ants had long since atrophied, and 1 to clean up the Xiongnu ants' excrement, otherwise too much accumulation would corrode the Xiongnu ants' shells. The most tragic fate of these fierce Xiongnu ants was to be abandoned by the slaves. At this time, the Xiongnu ants had to leave the caves they had plundered and look for new targets to conquer. If they still had no gains before nightfall, the Xiongnu ants would freeze to death or starve to death. This would be the most ridiculous way for the fierce and vicious Xiongnu ants to die. Queen Susan had heard many rumors about the Xiongnu ants. There were slaves who rose up in rebellion, but these slaves who knew their masters well could not gain the upper hand. In addition, some said that some Hun ants collected ant eggs, and they intended to collect ants of various sizes and types. It is unimaginable to fill a room with ant eggs of different sizes and colors. Under each white ant cocoon is an individual ant culture, each ready to serve a rough and barbaric master for a lifetime. Queen Susan tried hard to get rid of these gray thoughts and had to think of a way to fight. It was reported that a large number of Hun ants came from the northwest. The sentinels and spies in Susan City confirmed that there were about 100,000 of them, crossing the river through the Lilac Wharf Tunnel. And the Hun ants seemed quite impatient, because the mobile woven nest they had at hand might have been damaged when they drilled into the tunnel. So the Hun ants had no nest to shelter from the wind and rain. If they did not take Susan City, they would have to sleep outdoors for the night. The young queen ant tried her best to stay calm and clarify her thoughts. If the Hun ants already have a mobile nest, why do they have to cross the river? However, the answer was clear. The Xiongnu ants hate cities from the bottom of their hearts, and this hatred is incomprehensible to ordinary people. Cities are either a threat or a challenge to them. Nomadic people and city dwellers seem to be incompatible, and the Xiongnu ants know that there are hundreds of ant nests on the other side of the stream, each one more magnificent and rich. Su Sanchang is still unable to resist the invasion of the Xiongnu ants. At present, the ant population of Susan City State has reached 800,000, and a row of carnivorous plants has been planted on the western border. However, her army is less than 80,000 and has not yet been tested by war. Moreover, Su Sanchang is still too young and has not experienced any major storms. In addition, the envoys sent to the Red Ant State to swear to join the Federation have not responded, so she cannot rely on the support of neighboring city-states. Even the nearest border city of the Red Ant State is dozens of miles away, and there is no time to notify the residents of the summer ant nests. Faced with this situation, what will the mother of the city-state do? Susan decided to summon her best hunting ants. They have not had the opportunity to prove themselves as good warriors for absolute communication. A brilliant plan must be urgently formulated. The guards on duty in the bushes that grew across the Susan city reported that they had noticed a group of people heading here, and they were still holding a meeting in the imperial city. Everyone was ready for battle. No strategy was set, just improvisation. The order to prepare for battle had been issued, and the soldiers had assembled carelessly. They had not received any combat training, and the experience they had gained at great cost in fighting against the monkey ants had not yet been passed on to them. To be honest, most of the soldier ants had high hopes for the row of carnivorous plants. Grasshoppers jumped around, which was a warning of the enemy's attack. At this moment, the ants with good eyesight could see a puff of dust. Although we have been talking about the Hun ants for a while, it is another feeling to actually see them. Although they do not have a light cavalry team, they themselves are light cavalry. No mistake, one poem, one post, one content, 1/6, one book, one bar, one look. The body is strong and flexible, the feet are thick, the muscles are strong, and the delicate and pointed head seems to have movable horns, which turned out to be two large jaws. The perfect streamlined body structure, when the swift legs drive the body to run, riding the wind and waves, even the whistling sound of the wind cannot catch up, cannot be heard. Wherever the Xiongnu ant group passes, the wild grass bends, the earth shakes, and the dust flies. The upright antennae emit a pungent and wild and rude smell of grassland ants, which is so spicy that it makes people think it is a roar. Should we close the city gate and hold on, or go out to fight head-on? Susan couldn't make up her mind. She was afraid of making mistakes in a hurry, so she didn't dare to make any risky suggestions. Therefore, the red ants did what they usually hate the most, disagreement. Half of the red ants went out to fight without cover, the other half hid in the city as a backup force. In case the enemy besieged the city, they could still hold on. Susan tried to recall the fragments of the Azalea battle, which was a war she had personally experienced. It seemed that the bombardment tactics made the enemy unable to recover. So she immediately ordered 3 rows of artillery to be deployed on the front line. The Hun ants had already rushed into the wall of carnivorous plants. When the Hun ants passed by, the plant beasts were attracted by the warm meat and drooped. But they were too slow, and the enemy had already passed by, and no fly trap had time to bend down, let alone clamp the enemy. The idea of the mother of the city-state did not work. Just as the enemy launched the attack, the first row of Susan artillery fired a liquid similar to formic acid, killing only about 20 enemy soldiers. The second row of artillery had no time to reach the firing position, and was grabbed and separated from the head, not to mention firing any drops of formic acid. The most powerful and unique attack method of the Hun ants is to bite off the opponent's head, and it never fails. Chapter 148, Unstoppable. The heads of the newly born residents of Susan City flew everywhere, and their headless bodies continued to fight blindly, or else they would run around and scare the living to death. About 20 minutes later, the elite troops of the Red Ants disappeared completely. The other half of the soldiers blocked all the entrances and exits. The top of Susan City had not yet been completed, so there were about a dozen small holes like craters on the ground, surrounded by a circle of rubble. All the Red Ants were terrified. The modern city they had spent a lot of effort to build was now about to fall into the hands of a group of barbaric ants who couldn't even eat their own food. The Queen of Susan Ant had communicated with her subjects again and again, but to no avail, leaving her completely at a loss as to what to do. The small stones laid around the entrances and exits could only block them for a few seconds at most. As for street fighting in the tunnels, the residents of Susan City were not much smarter, and it was no different from going out to fight. Outside the castle, the few remaining Red Ants were killing and hacking like crazy, and some of them were fighting and retreating, but most of the ants had already seen that the entrance behind them was sealed. For them, everything was over. However, they still fought bravely. They had no way to retreat anyway, and they thought that the longer they could hold off the invaders, the better, and the entrance would be sealed more firmly. The head of the last citizen of Susan City was cut off, and taking advantage of the effect of nerve reflex, the body ran to an entrance and pressed hard to form a temporary shield. There was a deathly silence in Susan City, and everyone waited for the arrival of death with despair. It seems that pure force still has its effectiveness, which is still beyond the reach of certain combat skills. But the Xiongnu have stopped attacking. What's going on? Are they hesitating about something? All this seems a little unreasonable. There must be a conspiracy. Susan thought. Although the reputation of the Xiongnu ant killers is resounding, the Red Ant army is not a pushover. There is a rumor in the Xiongnu ant camp that the brown ants are good at inventing sophisticated traps. It is said that they have joined forces with foreign mercenaries, who suddenly appeared at the last moment, and that they have tamed ferocious beasts and created secret weapons that make the enemy unbearable. Of course, the Hun ants hated and feared being confined by four walls as much as they loved being free outdoors. Anyway, they never rushed to the entrance to clear the obstacles. The Hun ants waited patiently. They had plenty of time. Anyway, it would be a long time before night fell. Inside the ant nest of Susan Castle, everyone was very surprised. Why didn't the Hun ants continue to attack? Queen Susan didn't like this situation, which made her uneasy because the opponent's behavior was completely beyond her expectations. The enemy was the stronger party and had no reason to do this. Some of the people timidly expressed the opinion that the enemy might want to starve us to death. This view could only encourage the Red Ants. The pastures, mushroom fields, grain flour warehouses, and kettle ant prisoner storage rooms on the bottom floor were enough for them to survive the 2-month siege. But Queen Susan didn't think they would besiege the city. The group of enemies outside the castle wanted a cave to spend the night. She once again remembered the words of Cordyceps, the commander-in-chief of the Red Ant army: if the enemy is stronger than you, your actions must be unexpected. That's right. Facing these brutal barbarians, advanced combat techniques are needed. At this moment, the Queen Ant of Susan came to her senses, and the 500,000 residents of Susan City were truly communicating. A very productive discussion began. A worker ant waved his antennae and said, "We made a big mistake, trying to use the strategies and weapons of the leader, the commander-in-chief of the Red Ant army. We can't just imitate them blindly, we must create our own way to solve the problem." After this insightful breath language was released, everyone's minds suddenly became clear, and a resolution was quickly reached. Every ant immediately began to prepare. No mistakes. In the afternoon, the Hun ants finally decided to break through the entrance, but they did not encounter any resistance, which made them very confused. They knew that the Red Ant army had not been completely eliminated, although the city was not big. Therefore, they moved forward more cautiously than usual, because there was plenty of light outside and the vision was good. Once they entered the tunnel, they were completely blind. The red ants, who have no reproductive capacity, are actually invisible, but at least they are used to traveling through the narrow paths of this dark world. The Hun ants conquered the imperial city, but still did not find any traces of the red ant army, but saw piles of food lying on the ground, completely untouched. The Hun ants went deeper and saw that the warehouse was full, indicating that there were ants staying here not long ago, and there was no doubt about it. When the Hun ants entered the 5th underground layer, they detected the smell of new red ants. They tried to interpret the previous conversation here, but the red ants put time here, and the fragrance interfered with the original ant smell. On the 6th underground layer, the Hun ants did not like the feeling of being locked up underground. This city is so dark. How can the red ants bear to live in this narrow space for the rest of their lives, and be shrouded in the darkness of death? On the 8th underground layer, the Hun ants smelled a fresher smell of ants. So the Hun ants quickened their pace, and the red ants could not run far. On the 10th underground floor, the Hun ants ran into a group of worker ants waving ant eggs. When they saw the invaders, they all fled. So that's it. The Hun ants finally understood that the ants of the entire domain had come to the bottom floor in the hope of saving the precious offspring. When everything had a reasonable explanation, the Hun ants threw away their due caution and loudly issued their famous battle cry in the tunnel. The worker ants of Su Sanchang could not get rid of the enemy's pursuit and were now on the 13th underground floor. Suddenly, the worker ants carrying ant eggs disappeared. Where did they hide? It seems that things are not that simple. Chapter 149, Flooding the Enemy Army. Following the tunnel they were chasing, the Hun ants led to a vast room with puddles of honeydew all over the floor. The Hun ants could not help but rush forward. They sucked the sweet nectar, which would have seeped into the ground if they were a little later. The other Hun ant soldiers pushed and shoved behind them, but the room was really big, and everyone had a share of the honeydew puddle. How intoxicating, how sweet. This must be the kettle ant storage room of the brown ants. Some Hun ants had heard that there is a modern technology that forces the poor worker ants to hang upside down for their entire lives, with their stomachs bulging. The Hun ants laughed at these city guys while drinking honeydew. But one detail caught the Hun ants' attention. It was amazing that such an important place had only one entrance and exit. They never dreamed that the red ants had already finished digging, and a turbulent stream of water gushed out from the ceiling at the top of the cave wall. The Hun ants hurriedly wanted to escape back to the tunnel, but they didn't know that the entrance had been blocked by a large stone. The water level continued to rise, and the remaining Hun ants who were not drowned by the flood struggled hard in the water. The whole idea came from the red ant who said that we shouldn't imitate our predecessors. It then asked, what is the characteristic of this city? All of them gave the same ant smell in unison, the underground river on the 13th floor of the ground. They then dug a small ditch next to the underground river and laid waterproof oily leaves at the bottom of the waterway. The rest of the project was about the technology of building a reservoir. They built a large reservoir indoors and then used a branch to dig a hole in the middle. As you can imagine, the most difficult thing was to keep the branch in the middle above the water. So some ants simply hung on the ceiling and grabbed the branch to complete this feat. The Hun ants in the cave kicked and danced wildly, and most of them were drowned. But when all the water flowed into the room below, when the water level rose to a high enough level, some of the defeated soldiers finally climbed out of the cave, and the red ant army fired formic acid bombs to easily deal with them. An hour later, the big pot of Hun ant soup was no longer boiling. Queen Su San finally won the final victory. She published the first motto in the history of Susan City: the higher the obstacle, the more we must overcome it. Susan City continued to grow and now has begun to take shape. It is a city of hope and is moving forward along the path that best suits its development. The 13th underground floor of the city-state has been developed into a complete canal network. Through water transportation, food can be quickly transported from one side of the city to the other. Susan City is enthusiastic about using water transportation technology to the extreme. The latest flatboat is actually a dead leaf. As long as you look at the direction of the water flow, you can reach a distance of dozens of meters through water transportation, such as from mushrooms in the east to livestock farms in the west. Ants hope to tame water beetles. Water beetles are fat aquatic insects of the order Coleoptera. They have air sacs under their elytra and swim as fast as the wind. If they can be persuaded to push the dead leaves from behind, the flatboat will have a more stable driving method than water flow. Susan herself wants to promote another advanced idea. She thought of the lifesaver who helped her escape the spider web disaster, the scarab beetle. What a perfect fighting machine it is. Scarabs not only have large horns on their foreheads, but also have invulnerable shells on their bodies. They can fly at an amazing speed. The mother of the city-state seemed to have seen a large army of beetles, with 10 artillery soldiers deployed on each scarab beetle. She had foreseen this team of warriors charging into battle, unrivaled, and the formic acid fired by the gunners flooding the enemy camp. No mistake. Now, Susan was thinking hard all day about how to build her first air force. The only obstacle was that scarab beetles were even more difficult to tame, just like water lice, because we didn't understand their language. We had to train scarab beetles carefully like human animal trainers. There were already dozens of smarter worker ants who spent their days studying and analyzing the olfactory language emitted by scarab beetles, and trying to make them understand the language of ants. Although the results were not ideal at the moment, the residents of Susan City were able to apply honeydew on them without resistance. Next, in order to prevent the scarab beetles from flying away, the animal trainers locked them up in a large cave that served as a training ground for training. They basically gave up the method of using language training, and at the reminder of the queen ant Susan, they switched to gesture training, such as, first, let an ant sit on the back of the scarab beetle. If you want the scarab beetle to crawl forward, gently tap its head. If you want the scarab beetle to fly up or rise, gently tap its head twice. If you want the scarab beetle to fly down or land, gently tap its head 3 times. If you want the scarab beetle to turn to the left, right, use your hand to break the left, right, horn on its head. In this way, the effect was very ideal very quickly. The IQ of this beetle, the scarab beetle, is not bad, and it became very obedient in a short time. Half a month later, Susan's animal trainer had trained her first batch of Air Force, more than 80 scarab beetles, and each scarab beetle could sit on the back of 5 artillery ants, and it basically did not affect the flying speed of the beetle. While Susan was stepping up preparations for war, the Red Ant Kingdom was invaded by foreign enemies again. However, this time the enemy was not the Yuhao ants, but the Xiongnu ants. No one in the Red Ant Kingdom expected that the Xiongnu ants' attack speed was as fast as the wind, just like a gust of wind blowing the Red Ant army to pieces and collapsing across the board. In the end, the Red Ant army had to take out their secret weapon, the Iron Bull tank. Hundreds of Iron Bull tanks were placed on the front line and rushed towards the enemy camp with overwhelming momentum. However, the Xiongnu ants, who were experienced in combat, let go of the Red Ant Army tank group in front and moved their troops around to the sides and back of the Red Ant Army to attack, which terrified the Red Ant Army and caught them off guard. At this time, the Xiongnu ants took advantage of the chaos in the Red Ant Army's formation and quickly pounced on them, using their unique crescent-shaped scimitar-like mouths to quickly cut off several big feet of the Iron Bull tank, paralyzing it on the ground and unable to move. Chapter 150, A Commander Without Troops. The damnable Xiongnu ants actually used this despicable tactic to destroy the Red Ant Army's trump card unit, the Iron Bull tank cluster. Suddenly, the Red Ant Army's seemingly powerful offensive collapsed. From then on, all the Red Ant Army's troops became vulnerable in front of the Xiongnu ant army. The Xiongnu ant army also took the opportunity to sweep across the federations of the Red Ant Empire. The 7th Army, one of the main forces, was beaten by the Xiongnu ants' vanguard troops and fled in disgrace. The corps commander, Major General Banlingen, actually fled into the rainforest with several of his confidants and personal guards. Unexpectedly, he was blown to a nearby forest several kilometers away from Susanchang by a tornado. Now, Banlingen has become a veritable commander without troops. In a forest grass with flowers in full bloom, Banlingen finally woke up covered in mud. It rubbed its eyes gently and found that it was blown to a strange world by the strong wind. The red ant walked into the stream to wash off the mud on its body, and then crawled hard in the forest grass with a refreshing feeling. There was a sound of flapping wings in front of it, and several beautiful butterflies were chasing each other in the grass, fanning the air. Suddenly, Isidus's eyes were attracted by a beautiful leaf. This was a very interesting leaf, enough to make you forget everything you have decided to do. Isidus slowed down and approached the leaf. What a lovely leaf! Just cut it into squares, chew it and smear some saliva on it. The leaf will begin to ferment and eventually form a white ball filled with fragrant mycelium. Isidus clamped the base of the leaf branch with the sharp edge of its hard jaws and lifted the leaf above its head, as if it was raising a wide sail. However, Isidus was just an ant, and of course he didn't know the law of controlling the rotation of the sail. As soon as the leaf was lifted up, it felt the power of the wind. Although the tiny muscles of the whole body tried to keep its balance, the red ant was still too light to fight against the wind. The red ant lost its balance and fell over. Isidis still tried to hold on to the leaf tightly, but the wind was too strong for it and it was blown away from the leaf. The leaf turned around in the air and slowly fell down. After a while, it landed on a short tree in the distance. It seems that it will be very difficult for Isidis to eat the leaves. Forget it, it doesn't matter. There are still many leaves and smaller ones can be found. Isidis walked a distance and saw a lily not far away. A slug was crawling towards the lily. It seems that this annoying slug is going to have a good meal again. At this moment, a lizard saw the slug and was ready to swallow it in one bite. But the lizard was very patient and waited until the guy ate the lily and became fatter before taking action. In this way, the lizard can eat food with the fragrance of lilies. So the lizard hid far away and waited for the slug to eat the lily. However, a meter-long poisonous snake also discovered the lizard. It was about to eat the lizard for breakfast, but found that the lizard seemed to be waiting for the slug to swallow the lily, so it decided to be patient. Under the shade of the tree, 3 creatures related to the food chain were spying on each other. Suddenly, the slug saw another slug approaching. This one was trying to steal its food. It didn't want to waste any more time. So it pounced on the lily that made it salivate, chewing it until there was nothing left. As soon as the slug finished eating, the lizard jumped on it and sucked it into its stomach like a thin noodle. It was the turn of the green snake to attack. It rushed towards the lizard at a high speed. Suddenly, an eagle flew down from the sky, stretched out its sharp claws, grabbed the venomous snake that wanted to eat breakfast, and took it into the air. The venomous snake struggled desperately, opened its mouth and stretched out its fangs, and bit the eagle fiercely. In a flash, the eagle immediately let go of the venomous snake and threw it to the ground. No mistake, 1 post, 1 content, 1 6, 1 9, 1 book, 1 bar, 1 look. The venomous snake was thrown to the ground and almost fainted. The eagle pounced on the venomous snake again, grabbed it 5 or 6 meters high in the air, and threw it to the ground again. This time, the venomous snake finally had all its bones dislocated and died completely. It was like a soft straw rope, and was grabbed by the eagle and flew away to be eaten for breakfast. Seeing this thrilling scene, Banlingen was stunned. This was the first time in Banlingen's life that he had seen an eagle kill a venomous snake. After a long time, Banlingen finally found another smaller leaf and tasted it with relish beside the grass roots, without waiting for the leaves to ferment. Even if this meal was not delicious, it at least made Banlingen full. Anyway, Banlingen didn't really like eating leaves, but preferred meat. But since it had escaped death and was blown here by the strong wind, it was now so hungry that it could hardly walk, so it didn't care about being picky. After swallowing the last bite of food, Banlingen didn't forget to clean its body. It grabbed its slender right antenna with its 4 legs, bent it forward to the corner of its mouth, and then pulled it from under its mandibles to its tongue, sucking it gently to clean it. After both antennae were smeared with saliva, Banlingen placed the antennae between the pollen brushes under the tibia and combed them. The ant moved the joints of its abdomen, chest and neck until they could no longer be twisted. Then Banlingen used its forelimbs to clean its large compound eyes. Ants don't have eyelids to protect and moisten their eyes, so if they don't clean their eyes regularly, they can only see blurry images after a while. As the compound eyes are cleaned more and more, Banlingen can see things in front of him more clearly. Wow! What a big monster! Why am I so unlucky? It's terrible. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.